The story starts with a serious warning that everything shown is just a fictional story. Then, someone tells the president that the national address will start in 1 minute. The president checks his watch and wonders if it has been that long already. An assistant informs him that the power will be back in 30 seconds. As the countdown reaches its end, the president takes a deep breath, clenching his hands, preparing to speak. The countdown finishes, and the president begins his speech. President Jang Won-teik addresses his fellow citizens, and right away, he makes a special request to them. He asks everyone to make sure all people around them are watching this broadcast. Down below, a family gathers to watch the TV, while a neighbor shouts to his own family to turn on their televisions. The president repeats his request for everyone to watch, noting that the TV ratings are going up super fast. Down below, on massive screens outside, the president's face is shown to the public. He acknowledges the distress caused by the sudden lockdown and thanks everyone for cooperating. Then, he declares a state of emergency martial law starting from July 16th at 5:00 p.m. He explains that the army has taken charge of media, infrastructure, and major roads. He then pauses, saying the reason for all this extreme action is about to be revealed. The president casually asks Chief Lee if he has a cigarette, much to the implied annoyance of another person who worries about the opposition party getting mad. The president laughs it off, telling him to try and understand the situation. He continues, explaining that the reason he declared martial law was for a specific purpose, taking a deep breath as he prepares to drop the big news. He reveals that he wanted them to face a dignified end. The president's face looks grim as he states that by now, everyone should know what is happening. He confirms that the events from the game Survival Life are now real, and the specific asteroid from that game, named El Jambai, is the cause. Holding a cigarette, he continues his confession. He reports that the US military failed to stop the asteroid, which crashed near Okinawa, causing massive damage. The president reveals that the people in Japan are currently turning into zombies due to the disaster. He looks stressed as he continues. He warns that the zombie spores from Yunjanbai will reach their country today at 1:00 p.m. The scene shows military personnel in a control room looking frantic, followed by a shot of the asteroid crashing near a city skyline. The impact causes a huge explosion, confirming catastrophic damage. The president sadly states that the people of Japan are now zombies. The visuals show a destroyed urban area with zombie-like figures attacking. He confirms that the spores are coming for their country. He states that they cannot escape the zombie apocalypse, but thankfully, a small number of people, including the awakened, might be immune to turning into zombies. He then shows images of silhouettes that look superpowered. For those few immune people, he has prepared something special for their safety, which will be open a year later, pointing to a map showing marked locations for time shelters. He urges the immune ones to make their way to these shelters. He then shows guide sheets on how to deal with early-stage monsters which will be dropped via airplane flyers. Finally, he warns that all thermal power plants will soon shut down. He admits his shortcomings but believes he did what was necessary in their final moments. He says it was an honor to serve them and wishes to meet them all alive and well again. He ends by thanking an anonymous person who gave him the exact date of this disaster. The president finishes his address, while elsewhere, a man reacts with a deep sigh, showing he truly didn't want this end to come. Despite his despair, the man resolves that since the end is here, he must survive as a veteran of the apocalypse. He thinks about a game, mentioning that if he loses today's bet, it will be his third loss in a row. His friends are talking smack about him losing streaks. One friend mocks him, saying 3 losses in a row makes him a yellow bean. Another friend in a cat costume jokes that he keeps losing kills because he tries to brute force fights. The friend named Kimbapjawa, dressed in traditional-looking gear, tells the others that they are useless without their flashy moves. Duck Butt Peek Peek gets annoyed and asks to start the match already, while Rabbit Gonjo agrees and offers a 1-minute head start. The man, named Kimbapjawa, seems determined. The scene dramatically shifts to a ruined city, indicating that this is a flashback from a few months ago. Someone challenges Kimbapjawa, saying he better not regret his words as they start fighting through a horde of zombies. Kimbapjawa yells in pain after taking a hit. The game is identified as Survival Life, a VR game mixing zombies and fantasy monsters, known for its extreme difficulty. It was so hard that after a year, only 4 players were still actively playing. Kimbapjawa calls a big monster a meat shield and asks what to do next. The 1-minute head start is up, and a character presses a glowing red button, signaling the start of the real fight. The game quickly lost popularity after its release. Kimbapjawa is seen dodging a massive attack while the player called Survivor 1 steps in. The Groot manages to destroy the giant monster with a powerful combined attack. Kimbapjawa is offered the last hit but declines, thanking the player for the offer. Another player prepares a powerful shot with a glowing purple bow. The arrow unleashes a massive, hourglass-shaped energy blast that seems to eliminate the enemy, leading Kimbapjawa to exclaim, "Shitty game." He expresses frustration over losing again and asks his friends if they have anything else to play. They say they wouldn't be making stupid bets if they did, as the game is so boring. They all agree that there is nothing left to do and that it wouldn't be surprising if the server shut down today. Someone expresses a need for excitement and dopamine. Rabbit Gomju suggests they play another game, but the others refuse, saying their bodies can't handle it. Then, Kimbapjawa notices a new message in the chat. A message tagged PC appears, indicating a new player, making them excited about the 5 concurrent players. The group gets loud, and Kimbapjawa tells everyone to shut up so he can handle the newbie. The newbie is grateful for the guide they received, and they promise to help after finishing the tutorial. 2 hours pass quickly. The friends look shocked and ask if this is really the tutorial, finding it extremely hard. Kimbapjawa declares he's logging off for the day because he can't take it anymore. Survivor 1 asks if Kimbapjawa will be online tomorrow, and he replies, probably. A moment of silence follows as the others start logging off too. The player realizes that Rabbit Gonju and Duck Butt Peek Peek must have felt the end of their journey too. The main character, Kimbapjawa, stayed logged in, alone. He kept recording update videos, hoping his friends would watch his streams, but he couldn't let go. Months passed, and the game developers lowered the tutorial difficulty and improved the early game experience. New, grotesquely mutated creatures started appearing alongside the old zombies and monsters. Kimbapjawa welcomed the update, but his friends had lost interest and stopped logging in. Eventually, Asura was left with only 1 concurrent player. Frustrated, the player says the game is hopeless and he's quitting for real this time, but then wonders if the developers were just waiting for him to give up. He wanted to fight one last monster with his friends before quitting, but despair washed over him, and he hit the stop recording button and took off his VR gear. He deleted his streaming account and YouTube channel where he had broadcasted for 5,500 hours playing Sura. The character, Kimbapjawa, whose real name is Kang Seon-ho, was now truly living his real life. 3 months later, Kang Seon-ho is working at his snack shop, called Seon-ho's Tasty Snacks. Business is good, and he runs it on the first floor of the house he inherited after his parents passed away. A regular customer named Mike, a local hairdresser, comes in and enthusiastically shows him something trending online, a post about a status window. Seon-ho dismisses it, saying there's no way that could actually happen, calling her gullible. Mike insists she heard from kids that shouting status window makes it pop up. Seon-ho says he tried it earlier with no luck. He laughs and tells Mike that she is too easily fooled. Suddenly, a large, glowing blue status window appears in front of Seon-ho, startling him greatly. He shouts in shock, realizing he knew it was possible. Electric energy surrounds him as he interacts with the glowing blue screen. Seon-ho is amazed to see his stats. Health 11, Strength 12, Agility 9, Dexterity 11, Perception 10, and a trait, Open Private Portal. He feels like he has seen this system before, comparing it to Survival Life, but remembers that Sura didn't have a trait system. He finds the command to use his trait a bit lame. He commands, Open Portal, and a powerful blue energy swirls around his hand, forming a gate. The swirling energy solidifies into a rectangular blue gate, looking exactly like the labyrinth gate from Sura. Seon-ho wonders if this is truly the Survival Life system. He thinks, no, it can't be. He reasons that if it were real, there would at least be articles about the asteroid Yunjambai. He quickly checks his phone and finds an article titled, Asteroid Yunjambai being monitored by NASA. He sees more text confirming the asteroid is approaching Earth and that NASA hasn't released a statement. Seon-ho panics, realizing it is real, shouting, shit, there actually is one. He shakes his head, trying to deny it, thinking the name could just be a coincidence. He wonders if it is really happening, as blue energy starts to manifest around him again. He wonders if there could be some proof of the game's reality inside the portal. The blue energy forms a bright, shimmering portal right in front of him. The man stood looking into the glowing blue portal, wondering if there might be some proof on the other side. But then a thought hit him, isn't it too dangerous to go in without any plan? Changing his mind for a second, he decided to perform a quick check first. He stuck a ladle to the bottom of the portal to feel what was on the ground over there. It turned out to be just dirt, which meant the other side wasn't some weird labyrinth. He wondered if this portal just teleports him somewhere else on Earth, like a war. Well, since he did a minimal safety check and got his backpack ready, he asked himself if he should go inside. With his bag on, he stepped toward the bright blue gateway, ready to enter. The man landed with a soft sound in a very bright, green place, shouting whoa as he took in the surroundings. He found himself lying on the ground under a beautiful, sunny sky, surrounded by lush green nature. He looked around and saw a small blue bird, which he recognized as a valley deer in the game, and a system window popped up. He noticed the weather was a bit cold, and his phone had no signal, making him think he was in a very remote area hard for people to reach. Since he couldn't confirm where he was, he decided the most important thing was to find proof of what was happening. So he started exploring and leaving markers on trees. He groaned in frustration, feeling like this exploration was killing him, wondering why this forest was so big and hoping something would show up soon. He was getting tired of walking and asked out loud, "Why is this forest so big?" Just then, he heard a strange sound, and a dark figure with glowing red eyes appeared in the bushes, making him anxious for proof to show up. Suddenly, a red beam shot out, hitting him and making him yell out in shock. A system window appeared naming the creature as Valley Deer, and he wondered if this place wasn't Earth because of the game-like names. The Valley Deer stared intensely at him, but it didn't seem like an aggressive animal, even though it made him jump at first. He realized that while he hadn't found proof of the apocalypse yet, it would be different if he saw monsters like stone monkeys or humped boars. He thought he had never seen a valley deer in the game Asura, but he already had a hunch this place was closely related to survival life. He gripped the knife he kept tucked away, thinking that he needed to confirm this new reality, but he told himself not yet for certainty. He forced himself to ignore the unsettling feeling because he wanted to deny the disaster coming to humanity. But that hope didn't last long. His hope was short-lived because, right there, he found an item pop up, a sun apple. Seeing the glowing golden apple on the tree, he wondered if he should eat it, hoping it would be fine. He took a bite, and a system notification confirmed his suspicion. His stamina was slightly restored by the sun apple's effect. He was shocked, as the effect was exactly the same as the sun apple juice sold in the game's cash shop. He laughed nervously and said, "Damn it," because this pretty much confirmed everything, especially when he also spotted some goblin droppings. He sighed heavily, realizing he had to accept the harsh truth. The realization hit him hard. Kang Seon-ho, he had to accept it now. The end is coming, marked by a dramatic red warning. The end is coming. His face hardened with determination after accepting the certainty of the impending doom. Having accepted the reality, he immediately left the portal and went back to his place to prepare, starting by reviewing old game footage from a hard drive he had saved. He remembered recording that footage because he loved the game, and now he couldn't believe it was being used like this, recalling details like the alien asteroid Yunjanbai hitting Okinawa on July 20th, causing devastation and the start of Iron Death disease. The screen showed the date, confirming that there were only 32 days left until the apocalypse in the game's timeline. Looking back at survival life, he remembered it was full of unfriendly and annoying mechanics. He recalled that the most bullshit mechanic of all was the Iron Death disease. This disease literally caused all metal to crumble away, spreading like an aftershock 5 hours after zombie spores infested an area. This phenomenon instantly reverted human civilization back to the Stone Age, though it eventually subsided after 6 months to a year, depending on the region. However, this catastrophic Iron Death disease was meaningless to him now because the trait he obtained was Private Portal, which he hypothesized wouldn't allow that disease to pass through. After his initial analysis, he used the money he had saved up. He used all his saved money to buy survival supplies like weapons, food, tools, medicine, and equipment for self-sufficiency. He then checked the mood of the online community while thinking about his next move. The community was full of people arguing, some asking for proof of the awakened, others dismissing it as nonsense, and one person bragging about stealing 7 million when using their trait. He muttered about how carefree people were, even as he prepared for the worst. As soon as morning came, he bought various supplies, and on his way home, he made a private sale for a 60-pound hunting bow. The seller thanked him for the smooth transaction, but he just nodded, wondering if he was overreacting by preparing so much. He told himself that if the apocalypse didn't come, he would just struggle for a few years, but he kept preparing anyway. After finishing his morning errands and returning home, he put a sign on his shop so he wouldn't waste any time. The sign announced the shop was temporarily closed for a few months for remodeling, which surprised a neighbor girl who asked if he was closing down. He brushed it off, saying he just had something to do and needed to go. The girl tried to say something more, calling him Ajasi, but he just said it was nothing and left before she could finish her sentence. He wondered what she was trying to say but kept his mouth shut because from now on, there were serious things he needed to do, like opening the portal. His gameplay style was always that of a planner who devised detailed strategies, which is why he lacked physical skill among the veterans. He explained that in Sura, stats weren't given by leveling up but were earned through the results of hunting and exploration. He tried practicing with the bow and arrow, thinking, "Who will this work?" He found drawing the string surprisingly easier than he thought. He kept practicing, shouting, "One more again!" thinking if he could just aim well, this would be doable, and then he yelled, "Now take a shot." He was surprised by his sudden accuracy, wondering if he was Legolas in a past life, noting he could only draw the string properly about 5 times, but that wasn't bad. He decided that starting today, he would go hard on strength training. Having finished the basic preparations, he moved on to the next steps, first, figuring out if he could hunt monsters as he was now, and second, building a hideout to store his supplies. He made sure not to do anything stupid like trying to take over a nest until his ordered supplies arrived, feeling lucky. He believed preparing for every situation and the future was why he remained a veteran in Sura, then muttered, I'm sure I saw it around here." He then shouted, "Found it," his eyes sharply focusing on something on the ground. It was goblin droppings. He specifically looked for these because a single pile suggested the goblin hadn't been eating well, hinting it was an outcast from its group. He knew he had to find this guy, as it was a rare chance to test himself in a real fight. As it started getting dark, he heard wolves howling, which meant he must be getting closer to the valley. Suddenly, he spotted a goblin, looking exactly like the ones from Sura. He remembered the system info, monster no.1 goblin, grade, low-tier species, whose main weapons were spears and poison darts, preferring to torment paralyzed opponents. This was why he chose a bow as his first weapon, and he tried to stay calm, noting this goblin seemed old and wasn't carrying weapons, maybe because it was exiled. He thought if he just didn't get nervous, he could hunt it, taking a deep breath and drawing his bow. With a powerful shot, the arrow flew with a bright blue light, hitting the goblin in the arm. The goblin screamed and he said, "I was aiming for the head, but at least I hit it." He decided to press the advantage and go for one more shot. He lunged forward, but the goblin countered fiercely, making him grunt, "Kuhiak, damn it." The goblin struck, sending him flying, but he managed to get back up, asking menacingly, "So you're a seasoned veteran, is that it?" They clashed intensely, energy exploding around them as the veteran used his skills against the goblin's attack. The veteran managed to land a powerful counterattack as the goblin roared in pain. The goblin was defeated, letting out a final, weak sound, and the system announced, "You have acquired 2 points." He shouted in triumph, "I did it," realizing he really had done it, and then he noticed the goblin dropped some guaca powder and vegetable oil. He remembered in Sura, combining these made an ointment, so he should try it out, then quickly started digging near the body. He rushed to bury the body because if the group found it, it would be dangerous, and if he left it, it would turn into a bone creeper. Suddenly, he spotted a stream with bright red fish, exclaiming, "Oh, a red trout?" He realized that if this was the valley where red trout lived, then he remembered something terrible, muttering, "Don't tell me," as a massive creature with glowing red eyes appeared. A huge owlbear monster stood over him, filling the frame with its terrifying size. Looking up at the huge beast, the man could only think, "I'm screwed," with the image fading to glitchy static, reminding him of the time left until the apocalypse. The streamer Kimbapjal greets everyone at the start of the broadcast. Some viewers respond quickly, one even saying Kimbapjal scared them. Kimbapjal then says that today, he will continue summarizing the monsters in the forest, just like last time. One viewer finds the material boring, but Kimbapjal explains that he worked hard to prepare this information. A viewer named Bulsingman donates money, saying they think it will be fun. Kimbapjal thanks Bulsingman for the donation, but then gets a little concerned when they explain the money came from a strange source. He quickly moves on, reminding everyone that last time they talked about goblins and kobolds. Other viewers start arguing about the donation and Gukbap. Kimbapjal continues, stating that the most dangerous things in the forest are werewolves and owlbeards. He explains that the presence of an owlbear means the monster ecosystem is balanced. As he recalls these past memories, he feels a bit nostalgic, but the reality of his current danger hits him. He thinks about the owlbear, noting that because it is just standing there and not attacking, it is not hungry. This suggests something else is annoying it. He realizes the creature is angry because he has entered its territory with a special red trout live. He thinks about the only way to escape this problem. He remembers that while his mind is Kimbap Jawa, his body is still Kang Xian Ho, and he must act to survive. He recalls that owlbears have good night vision because of their owl heads, but they are weak to sunlight. He figures out the only way to deal with the beast is to use a strong light effect directly into its eyes at the perfect moment. Suddenly, he is back to reality, realizing he passed out and woke up at 8:00 a.m. several hours later. He groans, remembering the fight with the owlbear after already dealing with the goblin, and decides he never wants to see one again. Feeling weak from hunger since the previous afternoon, he reaches for a sun apple he had stored. Eating the apple restores his stamina, and he feels much more alive now. He decides it is time to go eat, and meets up with Mikayan SSI, who seems happy to have a meal buddy. Mikayan SSI asks if he tried using the status window, which he had told her about before. She insists it is real, showing him a news clipping on her phone about a bundle of cash disappearing from a convenience store. He realizes she is genuinely curious, but he lies and says it did not show up for him, because his trade is specialized for solo play and revealing it would put him in danger. He wonders why Mikayan SSI is still asking about it, and she apologizes, saying she lied about something. The man tells her it is okay and she doesn't need to tell him now, asking her to tell him later when she is brave enough, and then he heads home. At his house, packages he ordered are being delivered, which he gratefully accepts from the delivery guy. He moves the supplies, putting some on the rooftop and the immediate needs on the second floor. While doing this, he selects the gear needed for his plan today, securing a hideout. He remembers spotting a perfect suspicious-looking place earlier while looking for the old goblin. Looking through his portable telescope, he sees cobbled footprints in front of a cave entrance, which makes him smile because he knows a plan will work well on them. He checks the wind direction, noting that the smoke from his plan will be like poison for the nocturnal kobolds while they sleep. He gathers firewood and soaks it in gasoline near the entrance, preparing to light it. He thinks about how, in the game Asura, low-tier monsters are vulnerable to sudden phenomena, and smoking them out is better than burning the nest completely, as that would make cleaning a huge pain. His strategy is to confuse them with smoke so they run outside, where he can easily take them out one by one. He expected about 5 to come out since a pack usually has 7, but only 3 remain. He finishes off 2 of them, noting the leader is pathetic and cowering, and then decides he will use their nest as his hideout. He feels tired because he has no stamina left, similar to the exhaustion debuff in the game. Even though he leveled up to level 1 and gained points, he still doesn't get status points for leveling up, though leveling up unlocks important system conveniences. He is happy because now he has a secure space only he can use, but first, he has to clean out the nest. After getting the hideout, the person immediately started cleaning the place, even though it was really dirty. The hideout was deep, about 15 meters, and being small, the cleaning felt like torture, especially after a big fight. He complained to the kobolds who left the mess. Still, having a safe spot in the other world was good, and opening a portal without problems made things a bit easier. He thought it was easier, but really, he was super tired and almost passed out. The most surprising thing he learned while crossing dimensions was that he could set the coordinates between the other world and Earth, and things could still interact even if they were half in each world. He confirmed this crazy feature by using the portal to blast water into the cave, showing it really worked. The hideout finally looked decent after cleaning. He planned to wipe off bloodstains, pour concrete on the floor to store supplies, and finish the mortar work, which would take a few days. Next up was getting sandwich panels, lumen stone, and ignis stone. These stones were super important for newbies in Seola, making this spot a complete gold mine. He wondered if he should start mining once the construction prep was done. The next day, D29, he felt completely sore, noticing small cuts everywhere. He thought about eating a solar apple, but first, he decided to check if he could make some healing ointment. Making the ointment was easy, just guaca powder and vegetable oil mixed until it hardened, which gave a usable ointment that slightly healed wounds. It felt like it was working, but he worried about how much work this would be just to raise his stats. He felt like he might die before the real catastrophe even hit, so he thought about getting a sling instead of a bow, or maybe a gun to take down enemies quickly. Wait, a memory popped up about a ship, which was only a backstory in Seola, but he hoped it might happen in reality too. He felt that information might be useful, and if the same precursor phenomenon happened, it would be very beneficial, so it was worth checking out. Having made a plan, he went to the rooftop to get ready for construction as planned. Someone noticed he moved all the supplies to the rooftop at dawn. Luckily, the extra bags of mortar he ordered arrived, so the work was going smoothly. Then, to get the ordered goods, he went down to the first floor. As he was about to move the packages, the beautician from downstairs greeted him nicely. Noticing their form of address had changed because he visited often for Titiakbaki, he apologized, saying he was busy remodeling the shop lately, which she agreed with, noting he used to come every 3 months for a cut. She asked if he wanted to get a cut now since he needed one anyway for exploration. He agreed, and when she asked how to cut it, he surprisingly said to shave it all off as a sign of a fresh start. She was surprised and asked why, but agreed to make it look as pretty as possible. Then she noticed his shoulders looked broader, and he mentioned he started exercising lately, which seemed to be working. She then mentioned a rumor that the status window is related to survival life, and that awakened people are those who played a certain game before. He was genuinely surprised and asked where she got that information from, but then her source, Mr. Inhack, appeared, looking to share information too. Inhack explained that Kimbap Lover, the person who released early info, was trying to monopolize information and deleted his videos before running away. The group was now trying to find where this person lived. The main character thought it was illegal to track someone's address and questioned if they were in a position to be picky, especially since catching Kimbap Lover and sharing info was for the public good. He realized they were actually looking for him. Inhack pressed Mike to decide about joining their team. The main character found the situation absurd, saying he only deleted the videos because he had a reality check and didn't even have time for that nonsense. Inhack called him frustrating, insisting things were progressing exactly like Ciela. The main character was disgusted by how Inhack acted like he knew everything, saying if Kimbap Lover had just uploaded the info, they wouldn't be in this mess. The main character felt like he owed them money after hearing that. Inhack stressed that he couldn't wait long and asked what would happen if the community was full of insults about him. Inhack told him to decide quickly, but the main character cut him off, saying he didn't know what they were talking about and asked to talk later. Inhack got angry and told him to leave before he made a scene like last time. Inhack decided it wasn't the day and left, telling Mike to at least get the other guy's number just in case, saying that guy was bad news. Having returned home, the main character paused his hideout construction and turned on his computer. He searched for Kimbap Lover and saw posts saying that under the pretext of information monopoly, this person deleted all their videos and ran off. Someone else was getting cursed at for releasing important early information. The main character saw a post giving early game tips about zombie spores and the metal death plague, advising people on safe floors and how zombies perceive things. He then saw an ID presumed to be Kimbap Lover, named Towing 6974. He found it crazy that the person might have used their real name for the ID. The posts were full of insults towards Kimbap Lover and threats against Jiang Mikayan. Feeling misanthropic, he turned off the computer, stating his mental state didn't break, but oddly, his head felt clearer. For the next 2 days, he focused on working on the hideout, mining lumen stone and igneous stone with a pickaxe as stress relief. He mixed mortar with water and spread it evenly. After finishing the work, he went outside while waiting for the mortar to dry. Looking at the moon shining in the darkness, he thought about fighting injustice with injustice, but realized he was just an individual and didn't need a sense of duty. He concluded that in the end, he only needed to survive. Right as he made that resolution and turned around, the bone creeper suddenly appeared. He felt his mood was terrible and that the situation was seriously messed up. A giant, glowing-eyed skeletal figure appeared, hitting him with dark energy. He exclaimed that this was truly screwed up. The bone creeper let out a huge burst of energy, its eyes blazing intensely. The main character declared his mood was shot and that the situation was completely awful. A massive explosion erupted in the forest behind him, showing intense destructive power. Suddenly, something exploded nearby with a loud noise in the dark, shadowy forest. The main character landed hard on the ground, trying to protect his head with his hands. He slowly lifted his hand, covered in dust, and then heard a strange sound nearby. He looked up with wide, shocked eyes, trying to figure out what had just attacked him. After a moment, he sat up, still dazed, looking at the remnants of a bone creature on the ground. He realized a bone creeper had just appeared out of nowhere, making him wonder how he managed to survive the attack. He remembered that when he saw the creature, it was already about to explode. He only survived because he moved away just in time, and the explosion sent him flying back. He knew the proof of the monster's defeat was right there, and he checked his condition. He noticed small bone fragments stuck in his arm, but immediately opened the status window. Looking at the status window, he saw his level and points had increased, but the stat reduction was severe. Thankfully, nothing seemed broken or ruptured, and with his level and points going up, he wondered if this counted as defeating the monster like in the game. Feeling his brain not working right, he commanded the system to open the portal. With his blue glowing eye, he focused his remaining energy to open the way back. Once back in his room, the chapter title appeared and he immediately started treating his wounds. With a grimace of pain, he pulled out the bone fragment sticking in his chest. He cursed as it hurt a lot, but then he applied an ointment made from guaca powder to stop the bleeding. After bandaging himself up, he tried to check his condition, but ended up falling asleep instantly. He woke up to a bright morning sky, realizing he had passed out without even checking if the medicine worked. He panicked, thinking he might die like this, regretting passing out before confirming his treatment worked. He checked his stats again, and sighed in relief because the first aid seemed to have worked properly. He then thought about where that bone creeper suddenly came from in the forest. He reasoned that the forest was vast, so something appearing unexpectedly was not completely strange, but maybe he needed to raise his perception stat for better detection. He then thought about the two ways to raise stats in the game's CLA. The first way was getting points from experience, like what just happened, and the second way was getting items with attached stats. He knew CLA was a very hardcore game, so getting stat items was hard. To get items with stats, one needed to defeat monsters much stronger than their own stats or be part of a special event. He recalled that high-ranking monsters also had skills, which could be acquired under certain conditions, but he got a skill that didn't suit him at all. He wondered where he could get items now, so he decided to look into the backstory he remembered from last time. He recalled that the backstory contained precursor phenomena that happened before the world of Nzambi fell. This meant he might be able to get items before the actual apocalypse, provided the precursor events happened in reality and strong monsters appeared as expected. After looking through the backstory for a long time, he found out there were 3 precursor phenomena in total. He noted that the Russian chip event was the last one, and the Hobgoblin event seemed to be before that, but he had no information on it. He checked the earliest event, the MT, Jiri Orc incident. If the orc corpse was found on the afternoon of June 26th, he needed to go there on the night of the 25th to arrive at dawn when the orc was still alive. He decided he needed to prepare quickly for this trip. Suddenly, his phone rang with Miss Maikayan calling him, and he wondered why she was calling him so late. He met Maikayan at a cafe called Star Bin, where she asked if he was okay, noticing his expression and long-sleeved shirt in the hot weather. He casually replied that he just doesn't get hot easily, while noting Maikayan seemed sharper than he thought, perhaps because her haircut took longer last time. She insisted that wasn't the reason, and he was relieved, but she admitted she was a bit scared by his earlier demeanor. He laughed it off, agreeing that he disliked the person Maikayan was referring to, recalling a past incident involving an illegally modified tow truck. He detailed how that person used to cause trouble with his truck and fight with elderly people during the winter. Maikayan was surprised to hear this, and he mentioned that the jerk did this every dawn, before asking why she called him today. Maikayan then nervously asked if he could lend her his ear for a moment, revealing his secret. She whispered to him that she was actually an awakened person. He reacted by asking why she told him that, but quickly decided to play along for now, saying he was envious because he hadn't awakened yet. Maikayan apologized, saying the lie weighed on her mind, but he assured her it was okay and that he knew she wasn't a bad person. He thanked her for sharing information and admitted he felt better thanks to her presence. He told her that his nerves were on edge because of the remodeling, but he was glad she came, then asked if he would see her again in survival life. He also mentioned he was thinking of studying survival life now too, and Maikayan advised that he should meet people with good character, as she felt much better now. Feeling better, he got back to his plan, looking up options on his phone, like buying a state-of-the-art drone for scouting. He completed the purchase of the drone and also rented a car for the duration of his trip, then went to sleep to maximize his recovery. The next day, as soon as the sun rose, he started making materials needed for hunting the orc. He carefully began crushing the igneous stone into small pieces, knowing that hitting it wrong would cause flames to erupt. While working with fire, he had to be very careful to prevent flames from flaring up unexpectedly. Next, he worked with the lumen stone, which kept releasing bursts of light that stung his eyes. Despite the discomfort, he knew the performance of the materials was certain, so he endured it to prepare for catching the orc. After finishing the basic setup for catching the orc, he arranged his ingredients, sugar, gasoline, and various organic solvents. He mixed a hardener to solidify the igneous stone powder and resin, then set up a desk where the portal coordinates were fixed before entering the reality link. He stood by the desk, ready to go, seeing the portal glowing brightly in front of him. He felt pleased, realizing it was a good decision to splurge on renting a nice car for this operation. He confirmed that he had packed everything he needed for the mission. With his gear packed, including a fire extinguisher, he asked himself if he should leave now. With a determined look, he was ready to head to MT. Jiri, where the orc was supposed to appear. He drove off in the rented car, speeding out of the city area toward his target location. Before midnight, the man arrived at the Yunsanrai camping ground parking lot with rain pouring down. He used the remaining time to practice his image training while looking at his phone, where a scene from the game played out. Then, after checking all his gear, the new day officially started. He checked his gear, making sure everything was ready for the mission ahead. Exactly at 0:00 a.m., the search began in earnest. 2 hours later, the man was still searching in the heavy rain, wearing his poncho and headlamp. He complained as the rain was getting much heavier now. The heavy rain was bad enough, but now there was also mist obscuring the view ahead. He wondered where this orc would appear, as he had already searched the entire camping ground. Just as he thought that precursor phenomena in reality might not happen, he heard a disturbing sound. He remembered seeing something similar in the camping ground before. The sound made him flinch, and he realized this noise was definitely the sign he was looking for. He braced himself, ready for what was coming. He immediately recognized the terrible sound and quickly looked around with a shocked expression. He saw the silhouette of an orc in the mist and realized the battle was about to begin. To his surprise, it was not just any orc, but a red orc, a dangerous subspecies, staring him down with glowing red eyes. He quickly reminded himself to stay calm, Kang Xian Ho, and thought about the potential guaranteed skill drop from such a powerful monster. He then got ready, pulling out something from his gear. He decided that if he stuck to his plan, he would definitely secure that skill drop. The chapter title appeared, showing the start of the fight strategy against the red orc. The orc stood ready with its axe, staring at the determined hunter. The strategy began. First, use a signal flare to draw the orc's aggression and keep its attention. He threw the signal flare, initiating the first step of his plan. The red orc was immediately attracted to the flare, turning toward the bright light with an angry roar. The moment the orc attacked, its movement was momentarily disrupted. The hero aimed for the orc, whose movement had momentarily stopped. He quickly shouted "Open portal!" as he prepared for the next move. He moved quickly, positioning himself above the activated blue portal on the ground. While keeping his eyes locked on the target, he swiftly pulled out a small can from his pocket. He was ready to use the flash can as soon as the orc was close enough. The orc roared loudly, and the hero was ready for the next phase of his timed attack. He knew he had only about 20 seconds while the orc's vision was blinded. This was the critical battle against time. The first part of his plan was to rupture the orc's muscles, which were relaxed due to his status effect, to slow down its movement. He moved in quickly, aiming for the muscles while the orc was stunned. The orc let out a painful screech as the initial attack landed. The orc recovered quickly and swung its axe powerfully at the hero. The hero expertly dodged the powerful swing while still holding the small knife. He managed to stab the orc in the leg or side with his knife, causing the monster to cry out in pain. The orc roared in pain, its body shaking from the attack. The next step in the plan was to wait until his eye level roughly matched the orc's height. He was prepared to use the flame can he was holding. He managed to grab the orc's jaw and shove the prepared flame can directly down its mouth. A massive explosion erupted inside the orc's mouth, engulfing its head in fire. The hero smiled, confident that even an orc couldn't survive such an attack. However, the orc was still standing, though wounded, and the hero felt a sudden sense of danger as he was knocked back. He cursed himself for letting his guard down like a fool, just as the orc was engulfed in fire, becoming a raging inferno. The orc was now completely engulfed in flames, and the hero realized the gravity of the situation as he looked up at the massive, burning creature. He wondered if he was about to die right there in the rain. Suddenly, a system notification popped up. Level increased to 3, obtained 10 points. Right after, he acquired the skill Survival Instinct, making him breathe a sigh of relief, though he knew he couldn't rely on this forever. He urgently wondered where the drop item from the defeated monster was. He checked his watch, which transformed, and saw his perception increased by 2, which helped him find the item easily despite the rain. By the way, he looked at the defeated red orc, wondering what to do with the body now. He knew the MT. Jiri orc incident was under strict embargo by the authorities. He felt pessimistic about whether releasing this information would be the right thing to do. He recalled what Miss Mai Kayang had said earlier about the awakened. If what Miss Mai Kayang said was true, thousands of people had awakened, and he imagined a crowd of hooded figures surrounding him. He thought that even a small portion of those people, especially those like O and Hack, would cause chaos. He pictured a violent scene where people destroyed laws and systems for their own selfish gain. The biggest problem was what to do with the orc's body. If he abandoned the body, it would turn into a bone creeper and harm people by tomorrow. He paused, realizing something important. Even if he was awakened, there was no guarantee he wouldn't turn into a zombie if infected by spores. The image showed a split face, half his own, half a rotting zombie face, highlighting the risk he was taking. He was faced with the difficult choice of what to do, but he decided not to choose right then and there. However, he knew one thing was certain. He opened a portal, believing that even for the few who might survive, the world needed an orderly end. He stepped toward the portal, preparing to deal with the situation back in the real world. He grumbled, wondering when he would get to bury the body and put it away. He felt miserable digging, thinking his life would be much easier if his body wasn't suffering so much. Due to extreme exhaustion, his survival instinct skill activated, boosting his fighting will, stamina, health regeneration, and perception significantly, making him yell in frustration and determination to finish quickly. He really had no choice but to move as fast as possible, opening another portal while glowing with the skill's power. He noted that while survival instinct looked brokenly powerful, the body needed time to recover once the effect ended. He quickly jumped through the portal, pleading internally for more time. He knew that once the effect wore off, he would be immobile for a while, so he needed to hurry. The scene shifted from the dark, rainy forest to a bright morning sky over a city building. He was back in his room, looking at the time, shocked that it was already morning. He pulled up his shirt, looking tired but safe. He checked his phone, thinking he should have been constructing the defensive line according to his schedule by now. He looked at the barbed wire fence in the background on his phone's screen. He wondered if the traces of the red orc were gone. His phone showed a news article about abnormal climate raging on NT. He went to his front door, expecting a delivery, and called out to the driver. He exclaimed happily as he opened a wooden crate filled with various weapons. "This is it," he said, picking up an Indian war club, happy that though he could only use it in the other world, it was still good to have. He noted that even though he could use everything in the other world, some items seemed to be missing, making him wonder why. He found a notice stating that customs had denied clearance for some weapons, including the spear he ordered, because they were classified as weapons. He thought, as expected, some things get caught in customs even from a weapon importer. He wondered if there was another delivery, then told the driver to just leave it in front of the door. He waited, but it seemed the driver didn't hear him. He called out again, saying if the driver left it in front, he wouldn't be able to talk to the person he really wanted to see today. He reached for the doorknob. He opened the door and looked confused, muttering, "Huh." He was shocked to see Miss Mai Kyan standing right there, looking apologetic. She apologized, saying it had been a while since they met, and she really wanted to talk to him today. She was holding a bag tied shut. She then asked him if he was okay with eating rabaki together. "So, Mr. Seon Ho," Miss Mai Kyan was talking to him. She asked if something was inside his house right now, which sounded a bit strange to him. Then, Miss Mai Kyan told Mr. Seon Ho to quickly eat his food, to which he immediately agreed. After eating a bit, he asked her what exactly she wanted to discuss. She explained that he had agreed to look up information about Seola last time, so she wanted to share what she found. Miss Mai Kyan decided to quickly take out the trash while he got ready. While she was gone, Mr. Seon Ho brought out his laptop. He thought that the online community was the best place to share information without revealing that he was an awakened person. He started by giving a detailed explanation about the metal death plague. He explained that traveling in groups of 6 or more increases the chance of being detected by zombies and monsters, and that perception stat is very important for survival. The narration showed a flashback of someone with a spider monster, emphasizing the danger of low perception. Miss Mai Kyan understood his point, agreeing that perception must be the most important stat since the goal is survival. Seon Ho then brought up that another player, Kimbaplover, was getting criticized a lot for not sharing information. Mai Kyan agreed that it was true and wondered why Kimbaplover wasn't sharing. Seon Ho then asked Mai Kyan if she had any guesses, as she hadn't played the game much. Mai Kyan replied that she actually understood it somewhat, saying everyone has reasons and circumstances that justify their actions. She then mentioned that she rejected Mr. Owen Heck's offer to join his party after meeting his members. While they were talking, some other people were listening to their conversation, calling for kidnapping and insulting the leader. Seon Ho got angry at the trash talk and called the leader a trash bastard, which made him look serious. Mai Kyan told him that if the catastrophe really comes, many people will show their true colors, warning him not to trust anyone. She then directly asked Seon Ho what about him, saying she wanted to form a party with him. Seon Ho was speechless at her proposal. He explained that one of his goals was to reach level 10 to unlock the shop before the tutorial ended. He worried because in Seola, the rank of respawning monsters changes based on level, meaning she would surely die if she stayed with him. Mai Kyung then showed off her trait, Blink, saying she just needs to dodge before he bites her, as a sign of trust. She expressed hope that even if they couldn't be a team, they could cooperate if they both survived without turning into zombies. After this serious talk, the scene shifted, showing Seon Ho successfully building a fence with support posts, barbed wire, and infrared sensors. He was happy with his work, joking that he should get a dexterity point for all that building. Now that the defenses were set, he thought about moving the packages into the secure area. He noticed the air in the other world felt chilly, like late autumn. Realizing he would soon have to sleep there and needed to prepare heaters and a proper door instead of just a curtain. He felt like his to-do list kept getting longer. After ordering custom work at a woodworking shop and buying other supplies, he was on his way back. While walking, he was checking places to loot before the metal death plague spread in 5 hours, like a hardware store, pharmacy, and motorcycle shop. Suddenly, someone called out to him. It was Oh Hyun-jun, the gym director nicknamed Protein Monster. Hyun-jun noticed Seon Ho looked bad and asked what was wrong, then complimented his physique. Seon Ho admitted things were tough, and Hyun-jun said he also heard rumors about status windows and zombies because the world felt like it was ending. Seon Ho asked if Hyun-jun believed it, and Hyun-jun said he didn't at first, but then a friend of his suddenly levitated, proving it was real. Hyun-jun admitted he hadn't awakened, and Seon Ho confirmed he hadn't either. Hyun-jun mentioned that the friend who levitated was going to the broadcasting station to make some quick money. Seon Ho wondered why someone would go there, and Hyun-jun said the friend had a meeting with a PD there. Seon Ho wondered if this meant ordinary people would soon find out about the awakened, but Hyun-jun thought something more concerning happened that day. Hyun-jun revealed it was about a shootout in Uido. Seon Ho was shocked, realizing he hadn't watched the news that morning because he was busy. Hyun-jun told him to check the petition board, where someone was demanding the truth about the Uido shootout. The post claimed a breaking news report about the shootout disappeared, and all related articles were deleted, suggesting media control. Seon Ho realized this was crazy and that the news was deleted in real time. Seon Ho asked if there was any follow-up, and Hyun-jun said they tried to cover it up by saying it was a lingering incident from the orc incident, but he didn't believe it. Hyun-jun added that the whole Uido area was currently closed off by the military and police, making it clear the government was hiding something. Seon Ho suddenly remembered he had something else to do and quickly left, telling Hyun-jun he would visit next time. Hyun-jun yelled after him to buy him protein next time if he wanted to hear more. Back home, Seon Ho sat down to organize his thoughts after returning. He realized a shootout happened just one day after the orc incident ended, and the coordinated media cover-up meant the government knew about the situation early on. He thought hard, wondering how the government knew the exact timing of the first precursor phenomenon, especially since he had buried the red orc corpse beyond dimensions for an orderly end. He then wondered if someone else, without an offensive trait like his, might have leaked information to the government early on. He considered that maybe this hidden person didn't reveal themselves because they lacked a strong offensive trait like him. Seon Ho looked determined, realizing he couldn't be sure who it was, but there was someone else involved. The scene shifted to show shadowy figures above a glowing background, representing mysterious people. Finally, a figure in a suit stood alone, implying someone was operating behind the scenes. The narration stated that behind the government, there was someone else, and the chapter ended with a chilling close-up of a shadowy, grinning face in a hood. The main character was thinking hard about who the mastermind behind all this could be. He thought it was either the creator of Survival Life or one of the 3 veteran players. After thinking a lot, he decided to remove the creator from the list of main suspects for now. He didn't know exactly how things were set up, but he knew that the end of the game meant the start of reality. This led him to think that the people who built the world and the system were most likely the bad guys. If the creator was connected to the government, they would never have let him kill even one orc. So, for now, the 3 veterans were the most likely suspects. He scribbled down rough sketches of the 3 veteran players he suspected. He circled one of the sketches, wondering if that person was Survivor 1 after all. If his theory was correct, that meant he wouldn't have to share important information with the government. But then he sighed, realizing he didn't know for sure because people act differently in games compared to real life. He wondered if the real person was the survivor he knew in the game, but still, he kind of missed his veteran friends. He decided to trust his friends for the time being, thinking sharing info would stop a huge disaster anyway. He felt it wasn't his time to step in for an orderly apocalypse yet. 2 days passed, and the main character finished sorting all the food supplies in the shelter. The title card appeared, showing that the first phase of the shelter setup was complete before the generator was expected. Outside the reinforced door hidden in the rocks, he was satisfied with the progress of the food storage area. He planned for Phase 2 to install steel logistics trays and drill through the wall, checking the food storage section. Looking around the main area, which had an armory, an office setup, and a small sleeping area, he noticed something. He realized that there was much less space than he initially thought for the next steps. He mentioned that the basement waterproofing was done slowly over time, which was good. However, the basement couldn't be used for storage until the waterproofing fully healed, so he put that on hold for now. He decided to figure out the rest during Phase 2 construction because right now, there was something more important to handle: his new drone. He looked at the expensive drone setup, impressed by its size, thinking it was almost Amazon delivery level. After a quick look, he set the shelter as the starting point and launched the drone for a full-scale terrain exploration. The drone reported that there were always snowy fields to the northwest. Then, the drone hit some signal interference, but it also discovered an ocean to the south. Good news was that the ocean had no monsters, only plenty of prey, so he thought about setting up fish traps there later. With the terrain scouting done, he focused on checking the valley near the shelter to study the local ecosystem. He checked the area where he met the owlbear, relieved that there were no giant fur balls around now. But then he noticed the corpse he left behind was gone, making him wonder if the owlbear ate it. He looked closely at the ground, seeing many footprints, realizing it was too soon to make a final decision. Some of those tracks looked like goblin tracks, which made the whole situation even more suspicious. The distance from the shelter to this valley was about 1.5 kilometers, which suggested his shelter might be more dangerous than he first thought. After concluding that goblins were nearby, he immediately pressed the RTH button to return his drone home. He couldn't risk losing his valuable drone treasure, even on the return flight, as it kept relaying the forest ecosystem information. The drone map showed that the area was a swamp zone with boars, deer, and rabbits, which was good for resources. He noted that the terrain and wildlife seemed manageable, but he needed to check each area himself for detailed info. He decided to start by checking the closest swamp to see if farming was possible there. Suddenly, he heard a sound, and his infrared detector went off. Goblins were close. He realized they were coming right to him, which was perfect timing since he was thinking about them anyway. He wondered if his improved perception stat was why he could hear every little sound more clearly. Finally, hiding his presence, he spotted the goblins while they were fighting over some food. This location gave him a perfect angle for an ambush, and he prepared his weapon. With a quick, powerful shot from his bow, he took down the first few enemies. He counted 4 down and looked at the remaining goblins, asking them what they planned to do next. He pointed out that even villains wait when someone is talking, calling their attack rude. It seemed his poison effect worked well on the nearby goblins who were weakened from confusion. That made 4 goblins eliminated, and he faced the rest, seeing them rush in for melee combat. He stepped back, ready for the close fight, noting that the status effect from his previous attack was hitting properly. He thought, excellent choice, because close combat was exactly what he wanted in this situation. He activated something in his hand, and as he did, the remaining goblins suffered a strong effect. He confirmed that the effect was indeed working as intended. It was time to finish the fight, and he moved in swiftly with his blade. With a powerful sweep, he took down the remaining goblins who were affected. After the fight, the system informed him that he leveled up to level 4 and gained 16 points. He let out a relieved breath, looking at the defeated goblins scattered around him. He admitted that he only used the status effect attack because they were already weakened by confusion. He was surprised and happy that it actually worked so well. The main character felt that digging was super tiring, but also strange and funny. He noticed that his survival craving skill didn't activate during the fight before, but it was kicking in while he was just digging. Despite the weird skill activation, he was happy about how fast he was digging and let out a sigh of relief. He realized that the skill activation was not completely useless, unlike what happened with the orc. Only his health stat had dropped a bit, which confirmed that the backlash from using the skill was not too bad. After finishing the tiresome job of burying the bodies, he decided it was time to check the loot he collected. He checked an item called guaca fruit, which had the effect of restoring health. Then he saw something else. He looked at the vegetable oil buds he found and wondered if there was a place nearby to harvest more of them. Next, he decided to check what was inside the boss's pouch, curious about the contents. He found something that made him pause. Inside the pouch, instead of a dead creature, there was a living, small blue toad. He wondered why they would keep a living toad instead of a dead one, then noticed a musty smell and some green liquid. That green liquid made him realize it was the paralysis poison used by the paralyzing goblins. He quickly decided that he absolutely had to raise this toad because of the poison. He thought that besides its cuteness, extracting the paralysis poison would give him a chance to boost his poison resistance. He even started injecting the poison into himself, seeing the potential. Having poison resistance would also make hunting a lot easier in the future. He named the toad Jadok and promised to give it lots of food, officially making it his property with a system notification popping up. This new system feature, where he could forcibly sympathize with a creature and claim it as property, felt very confusing to him. He wondered if this was some hidden gimmick added to reality, similar to the strange characteristics of the dimensional gate. The system then displayed a message about the survival life service being terminated in 1 week, making him think about a recent update he missed. He dismissed the idea of an update right before a server shutdown, deciding to focus on his immediate goal, exploring. After going back and forth through the dimensional gate and reorganizing his base, he immediately started exploring the surroundings. He used the dimensional gate to quickly move between places and finish his tasks. Emerging from the gate back into the forest, he immediately started searching the area. He was super happy to find a spring that even his drone couldn't spot before. He was amazed that such a perfect spot was so close to his hideout, and was relieved when he tested the water and found it was just ordinary water. This discovery solved his immediate problem of needing drinking water, so he wouldn't have to risk going to the swamp for a while. He quickly jotted down notes about his findings. He also confirmed the presence of other useful items as he had guessed, spotting the guaca tree and vegetable oil buds nearby the spring. After that, he hurried up to pick a lot of guaca fruits. He harvested the vegetable oil buds and decided to keep one special item just in case. He made sure to leave markers everywhere so he would not get lost finding this precious spot again. Feeling satisfied with his successful supply run, he thought about heading back now. The next day, the scene shifted back to a building where someone was trying to feed Jadok. The person, dressed in protective gear, was trying to get Jadok, the poison toad, to eat a grasshopper by saying "say-ah." Jadok opened its mouth wide and quickly snapped up the grasshopper. The main character had decided to keep Jadok on the second floor of the house, and the toad seemed to be eating and hopping around happily. He knew toads need a specific temperature range, around 18-25 degrees, so leaving Jadok in a normal hideout without heating would surely kill it. He carefully administered a small amount of green liquid from a flask into Jadok's water, thinking how cute the toad was. Besides taking care of Jadok, he had many other tasks to do in his lab setup. The task that took the longest was making the ointment from the collected materials. He looked over the huge amount of finished ointment containers. He realized he had made way too much, but he couldn't give it to Maikan since she was an awakener and he didn't know how to handle that situation. He then thought he could give the excess ointment to Hyun-jun instead. Later that night, we see Hyun-jun at a gym, seemingly enjoying some protein. Hyun-jun was happy, admitting that the protein drinks his younger brother sent were the best, surprised by the large container of protein. The main character arrived a bit late, but Hyun-jun said it was fine, as he expected him to come the next day. The main character joked that he came with both hands full, bringing the protein and the ointment. Hyun-jun accepted the protein, but asked about the ointment. The main character explained he bought too much and that the ointment was good for wounds. Hyun-jun jokingly asked if he was trying to sell him something through multi-level marketing. The main character insisted he wasn't a sucker for those things, then thanked Hyun-jun for sending him messages with information about Asura. The main character said he was the one grateful because without Hyun-jun's info, he wouldn't have known about a recent shooting incident. He then noticed the gym was unusually quiet. Hyun-jun explained that everyone had gone off to make plans after one member shared information about the situation before leaving. The main character asked what kind of plans, and Hyun-jun said that based on member requests, they decided to make a base at the gym. The main character was shocked, asking how many people were coming. Hyun-jun replied about 20 people, which made the main character worry, saying that more than 5 people were dangerous, but Hyun-jun insisted they had to try somehow. Hyun-jun stated that they couldn't abandon any of their members, showing his strong loyalty. The main character noted that Hyun-jun was a loyal man despite his looks and asked what Seon-ho Hyun-jun was going to do. Seon-ho said he would think about it more. Seon-ho pointed out that since the main character was also a non-awakener, he didn't really have anywhere to go if things went south, just as a sudden scream was heard from outside. They heard a scream, and Seon-ho rushed out while the main character yelled to let him open the window. The main character looked shocked as he saw someone jumping from a higher window. The scene shifts to a low-angle view of the building at night, showing a small figure leaning out of the top window. The main character rushed to an unconscious Maikayan, calling her name in alarm. Maikayan woke up groggily, and the main character asked if she was conscious, to which she responded, asking why she was there and mentioning Seonho. Seonho confirmed that was what he wanted to ask and asked if she remembered anything happening. Maikayan weakly said she didn't remember well, but someone suddenly attacked her. Seeing her unharmed but confused, the main character cursed the attacker. He then told Seonho to stay with the older member while he checked the area. Seonho tried to stop him from rushing off, but the main character insisted it was fine and that he would check the whole area himself. The main character then asked Maikayan if she remembered what the attacker looked like, but she only remembered everything suddenly going dark. He pressed her, asking if it went completely dark, and she confirmed, adding that it wasn't like someone covered her eyes, it just turned dark. He realized with dread that their enemies had already started moving. He then urgently told Maikayan that if something like this happens again, she must use her blink ability immediately. Maikayan was hesitant, but he stressed that she had to use it, promising to send her some self-defense equipment so she must carry it. The chapter ends with a dark, intense shot of the main character looking determinedly at the shadowy figures of several men, including a smiling man in an orange shirt who seemed to be the attackers. There is a famous meme about a group of 5 people where one of them is always a bad guy. This is true everywhere, and in the game Asura, where there was little stopping them, these bad people, called trollers, were even more common. These trollers would sometimes answer reports, but the system could not catch them easily. So, trollers would join a team pretending to be normal players, acting like they knew the area well, and gaining trust. They would then lead the trusting party into a place full of monsters and wipe them out, watching from afar. The trollers would also trick new players by offering to help them, like saying, "Hey, want me to carry you?" A new player, happy for the help, would agree, only to be suddenly killed by the trusted person who then stole all their things. They even caused fights between different groups just for fun. All these bad actions by trollers were a big reason why the game, which was already not very popular, totally failed within just 1 year. The number of players dropped severely, partly because the remaining few trollers were disciplined, but the main reason the user count dropped to just 4 was something else. The main character and his group seem to have dealt with one of those trollers, as a defeated player lies on the ground surrounded by the strong group. But the question is why the main character is suddenly explaining all this history about trollers, which is because now is the perfect time for them to cause trouble again. The main character summarizes that after a big fight in Uedo, all the Awakener communities started joining together. These online communities were now used not just for sharing info, but also for making secret plans and recruiting for illegal activities. Looking at the real-time board, he sees posts recruiting for fights and even sees that someone is selling videos of him, which surprises him. He focuses on a post by someone named Dawajusum who is asking for help while claiming to have videos of the main character carrying him during his newbie days. The main character remembers Dawajusum was definitely a troller and sees a picture showing Dawajusum taking credit for carrying him when he never did. The main character wonders if the troller is using edited footage to trick as many people as possible. He thinks about how twisted that person's mind must be, but he decides he needs to increase his own training time to fight back against such people. For the last 13 days, whenever he had free time, he was watching videos on Survival YouTube about fighting techniques for real combat. His training seems intense, surrounded by bright blue energy as he practices. This chapter marks episode 10 of the series, and the main character focuses on improving himself. He was learning weapon use and combat techniques from videos, but he realized most of what he learned was only for fighting monsters. The training material mostly covered fighting monsters, even in the hideout area. Those videos did not have many strategies for dealing with the wire disease, which is a threat from infected humans. So, starting today, he decided to pick a main weapon that would be good for fighting people and monsters, even if the wire disease spreads. He looks at his options and notes that while he needs a weapon effective against the wire disease, the choices are few. He considers the options laid out: an Indian war club, a wooden slingshot, Asher clay beads, and a handmade stone axe. He checks the items he has gathered for testing in the woods. He realizes that based on his conditions, the stone axe and clay beads might not be the best options. He decides to test the slingshot first, noting it has high utility in many ways. He loads a bead and fires it with glowing blue energy, showing surprising power even from a simple slingshot. The projectile hits a thick log with great force, showing that the slingshot's small ammo can still be very effective. He concludes that the Asura clay beads are too weak and ambiguous in power, leaving only one other option. The only remaining choice that fits his needs is the Indian war club, which he picks up. He reasons that since the wire disease turns people into zombies, a blunt weapon is best for crushing the spores in their skulls. The first item he plans to buy at the level 10 shop is a blunt weapon, like the shown ebony wood club, so he needs to practice with the club now. He begins practicing swinging the club, which creates a strong blue arc of energy. He swings the club down hard, showing the force behind the strike. He wonders if this club will be the best against human opponents too, but then he thinks it's still a bit unclear or ambiguous. He swings the club powerfully against a wooden dummy, showing it's effective for close combat. He worries that if he meets a psychic awakener, he won't be able to do anything against them. However, he reminds himself that he can't just wait around because killing a human in survival life gives 50 points. He takes a breath, realizing that even with the murderer system in place to stop abuse, many players will still kill others for points, even if they get demerits. The scene shifts to a virtual fight setting where the main character is facing another player in a glowing grid arena. The opponent raises a sword to strike, but the main character counters with a powerful blow from the club, pushing the opponent back forcefully. The main character's counterattack seems overwhelming, creating massive energy shockwaves. He thinks it's probably best to avoid player conflict until he finishes getting his items and skills farmed. He prepares for a fight, glowing with intense power, seemingly ready to defend himself if needed. He snaps out of this reflection, letting out a sigh of relief as he finds himself back in the forest. He decides that for now, avoiding player fights until his item and skill farming is done is the wisest course of action. While he's at it, he decides he should also completely dismantle the store they were using and set up a detector on the second floor. Suddenly, he hears a strange wolf sound nearby and wonders why a wolf is howling at this time of day. He worries that a wolf might be hurt close to his hideout, feeling a sense of shock. He pulled out his phone, looking at something surprising, thinking, wow, is this for real? He puts on his helmet, looking towards something very large on the ground, realizing it's big enough to ride. He sees a dead gray wolf lying on the ground and confirms it has stopped breathing. He thinks about the implications. Did a stray wolf die here, or was it attacked by something else that came near his safe spot? To figure out what happened, he kneels down to check the wounds on the dead wolf. As he examines the body, a tiny white wolf cub approaches its mother's side. The cub is startled and jumps, hitting the main character's leg. The little cub, looking scared, leaps up towards him, making him gasp in surprise. He realizes this little cub is the child of the dead gray wolf and asks the cub gently, "That's your mother, isn't it?" The cub whines and looks at its mother, making the main character pause, thinking about what he should do next. He feels bad about separating the cub from its mother, but he knows he needs to bury the body quickly. If the dead wolf was a monster, it would turn into a bone creeper, and if it wasn't, its body would still attract other dangerous monsters. After digging the grave and finishing the burial with relief, he looks down at the small cub. He has finished digging the hole for the mother wolf. Seeing the little cub reminds him of his own younger self and also of Munchai, the dog he used to raise when he was little. He decides, oh well, screw it, and gently picks up the cub. The cub makes some noise, and the main character tells it to listen to what Big Bro has to say, assuring it that its mother will be resting right there. He promises to even make a small dog door in his hideout so the cub can visit its mother anytime it misses her. He also promises to make sure the cub doesn't starve until it grows up. In exchange for taking care of it, he asks the cub to help him with its excellent sense of smell. He holds out a piece of dried meat and asks the cub if it will come with him. The main character smiles happily, waiting for the cub's answer. The cub enthusiastically barks, and the main character exclaims, "Oh, you said yes, right?" He names the little wolf Dingo and tells it he is counting on it. The cub happily barks again, and the system confirms that the gray wolf has been named and that the main character has successfully communicated with it. The main character asks his little dog, Dingo, if he is ready for something. He then proudly thinks that his kid, Dingo, is a genius and tells him to do a trick just as he was taught. Dingo happily barks and paws, then follows the command to turn when instructed. Next, Dingo sits down perfectly when told, and then lies down immediately on command. The character tells Dingo to be quiet, and the dog responds with a soft whimper. He then tells Dingo to wait while he grabs something from his pocket, ready for the last task. He takes out a small object, perhaps a toy, and throws it up high with the command jaunt. Dingo leaps up excitedly to catch the flying object, barking happily. Dingo catches the item midair with his mouth, showing his impressive skill. The character laughs, wondering if Dingo is so good because he is a creature from another world. He praises Dingo, saying he is even good at scent tracking and is truly a blessing. He showers Dingo with affection, calling him his baby, before checking his phone. He notices that Hyun contacted him first, which is unusual, as he looks at the phone notification. The notification shows that Oh Hyun and Hyun messaged him to search levitation on the internet, and the chapter title appears. The main character reacts with surprise as he sees a news report about the Calypse, where someone claims to be the first superhuman and predicts disaster with zombies and monsters. He sees that this article has already reached the #1 spot in the news rankings. Ordinary people leave comments online, some doubting the story, while others wish for a complete upheaval of life. He sees comments from awakened individuals too, with some finding the situation hilarious, while others curse the person for not sharing more information. The character realizes people get angry when information they want isn't shared, but then they hate it when information is spread. He wonders how the government will react, noticing that some groups are already planning rallies using the shock and superpowers news as an excuse. He sees images of people holding protests, clearly agitated by the recent events. He decides he should not dig too deep into the current situation, sitting down with Dingo beside him. He thinks that once the second omen, the Hobgoblin event, happens, the government's reaction will be clear. He remembers the scary image of goblins and the Hobgoblin leader from a previous vision, reminding him of the seriousness of the situation. He concludes that he needs to use his time much more strictly now, standing up with determination. He tells Dingo that starting today, they must begin their exploration right away, and Dingo barks in agreement, ready for the task. The character encourages Dingo, who lets out an excited bark in response. He stands with Dingo in a forest area, reflecting on his choice to explore interdimensionally with the dog. He holds up a bag and asks Dingo if he can find what is inside, using scent tracking. Dingo sniffs hard, letting out a determined bark, as the first reason for this exploration is to prepare for the upcoming Hobgoblin event. He needed Dingo to properly imprint the scent of goblins, and Dingo successfully tracks a hiding spot based only on a lingering scent, which is better than expected. He rewards Dingo with a piece of cloth from the bag, stating the next test is to see if Dingo can stay calm in a live combat situation and follow his commands. Dingo whimpers a bit as the character prepares, and then rushes forward with incredible speed. Dingo speeds like a streak of light towards something. He is currently trying to confirm if hunting is possible in the other world, as Dingo spots a strange rabbit in the grass. Dingo chases the glowing-eared rabbit, tackling it quickly. The character praises Dingo for the successful hunt, as he confirms hunting is possible here, something he couldn't properly check last time when the prey ran away. He examines the captured rabbit, noticing its size and claws. He declares that the animals in this world are definitely stronger, holding up the creature proudly while Dingo barks. After that successful hunt, they continue their exploration deeper into the woods. A new thought comes to his mind. What would Dingo's cognition look like if converted into stats? He decides to test this by heading toward a valley, and immediately, a system message appears stating Dingo's health increased by 1. He is surprised by the immediate stat gain, noting that Dingo is growing incredibly fast, considering his own previous high health stat. He calls out to Dingo, who seems to have been running around alone, telling him not to wander off in the forest. Dingo pants heavily, and the character gives him water, letting the dog drink it all up. He wonders if the burning sensation Dingo experienced earlier was because he ate something specific. He then finds something extraordinary, a plant with bright green peppers growing there. A system box identifies the item as bull pepper, and the character praises Dingo for the great find, promising treats later as he starts digging around the plant. With this unexpected harvest, they decide to finish up preparation for Phase 2 construction and head back home, walking towards a bright, natural area near a stream. He asks Dingo if there are any strange scents nearby, confirming that the red trout in the stream are not monsters and won't give points or items. Dingo stands near the water, and the character quickly spears a large, reddish fish jumping out of the water. Dingo barks as the fish is caught, and the character thinks that even if the fish doesn't give points, the experience of hunting is worth it for the growing Dingo. The fish is caught with a spear, and the narrator confirms that giving Dingo experience was worth it. He decides they should finish the preparations for Phase 2 construction and go home, with Dingo barking happily beside him. The next day arrives, and a sound of demolition is heard as someone calls out "Boss." The demolition of a structure is complete, and the workers confirm that any repair issues must be reported within 3 days, thanking the main character for having them start early. The character sighs, feeling a bit sad seeing the place torn down, but knows it was a necessary decision. He thinks that if someone is lucky enough to survive the apocalypse, looting a shop is a natural act, just like he would scavenge if he survived. He feels he should at least clean up, realizing everyone thinks the same, as he walks out of the demolished area, leaving only bare minimum equipment behind. He sees a figure standing in the distance and reflects that he shouldn't dig into the current news too deeply. He sees people looting what looks like a convenience store and reaffirms that if he survives, he will scavenge too, so he has no right to complain about others doing the same. He decides he should clean up the remnants of his own place, and then notices his friend Hyunjun Hyun is there. He is surprised to see Hyunjun, asking why he is there as he didn't expect him. Hyunjun rushes forward and gives him a light pat, explaining he came to check if he was alive after being left alone yesterday. Dingo lets out a surprised woof, making Hyunjun ask if the main character always had a husky. The character explains that his old pets passed away a long time ago, and Dingo is a new pet he brought home. Hyunjun thinks Dingo is adorable as he squats down to look at him, but the main character asks why Hyunjun came all the way there. Hyunjun says he came because he was worried if the main character was alive, but the main character teases him, asking if that is really the only reason. Hyunjun admits that wasn't the only reason, but he was indeed worried. Hyunjun then grows serious, mentioning the guys who attacked MS. Mike Hyun, and reveals he found out who they were. The conversation continues, asking if the group led by Kim Cheol-jun was specifically targeting Mike Hyun. They confirm that the tow truck guy the other person hates is also part of that group. It is revealed that their base is at the redevelopment site near the mountains. The other person then asks how all this information was found out. The person replies that it all just clicked together. The other one asks what exactly clicked. The explanation continues, mentioning that the speaker asked Han Jin-sun, the levitation guy from the reality show, for help just in case. He then explains what Jin-sung revealed. Jin-sung told them that Mike Hyun had met Kim Cheol-jun and his group before. The reason they didn't join was that all three of them were too warlike, so their personalities did not match. Furthermore, after the incident with Mai Joan, the female members of the group were talking about leaving. The speaker asked why they were planning to leave. They all replied that they had received an offer from an Awakeness group. The speaker then asks if the other person can now understand the situation. The other person agrees, stating that unlike MS, Mai Jeom, the others must have been tempted or seduced by the offer. This shocks the first person, as the group had about 20 people just a few days ago. However, he figures it makes sense since only 2 people in their group are now the awakened ones. He finds it ironic because when he tries to help people, this is what happens, suggesting people only look out for themselves. He then expresses worry about his Jae-yoon and wonders if he should call his ex-wife. The other person acknowledges that the situation is different for him regarding his family. That is why he needs to ask a serious question, seeking confirmation on his actions. He asks if he is really doing the right thing, wanting to know just one thing for sure. He states that when the end comes and someone becomes a threat, he would kill them. He explains that although he doesn't believe in hurting others generally, in a lawless disaster, absolute evil must be removed. The other person finds this question unusual for him and asks why he is asking. The first person brushes it off, saying he doesn't know how the thought came up, but just then, a loud alarm sounds. He asks the other person to look after Dingo for a minute. Mike Hyun, hearing the alarm, realizes it was a child safety alarm sound. She is seen holding a tracking device and the scene switches to the location. A man named Owen Hack, the head thug and the tow truck guy, is seen confronting Mike Hyun, who is high up. Even though he was refused before, he keeps following her. Mike Hyun asks why he is doing this, but Owen Hack insists she reconsider. He then says he will do things his way now and warns her to come down if she wants to be treated gently. The leader, Kim Cheol-jun, along with his associates Ma Jong-in, the skinny support, and another guy, appear. They point out that this is a redevelopment area, so no one comes by, telling Mike Hyun not to waste her strength. They remind her that they also have powers and say they will count to 3. The person preparing the attack cocks a slingshot. As the countdown begins, the attacker loads something into the slingshot. The first person gets hit with a projectile. The first attacker strikes, and the projectile causes a big impact on the person being hit. The second attacker prepares for his move, realizing the first one hit. The person hit by the projectile is revealed to be Kang Seon-ho, and the thug recognizes him, noting his offensive trait is very powerful at the start. The thug declares he will cripple Kang Seon-ho today. The thugs are ordered to get ready. Even if the opponents aren't awakened, they should show no hesitation. One thug remarks it's about time the annoying prick got put in his place. The masked person Kang Seonho seems unfazed, and one of the thugs notes that he is not even hiding his power now. The question arises if he has to use the dimensional gate. The thugs attack, and the masked person counters, prompting the leader to say they will leave it at that for today. The leader mocks the attackers for looking cocky despite seeming weak enough to break with one punch. He asks the helmeted person if he is sure he is fine, even suggesting he might need caring. Meanwhile, the other person wonders why those two suddenly remind him of someone else. Someone suggests getting to a hospital, but the helmeted person says he is fine and cannot afford to rest. He reminds the other that his group is down to 4 members. He then asks if it's alright for the other person to take Mai Kyung in now. The other person agrees, saying it's fine by him if Mai Kyung is okay with it, as they are close anyway. Mai Kyung is asked if it is okay, and she gratefully agrees, saying she would really appreciate it. The other person says well, he has things to do, so he needs to leave. The friend asks what is up with him leaving so suddenly. The masked person thinks about going home to clear his head and mentions he started setting up phase 2 earlier than planned, which forced him to leave in a hurry. Watching the other two together suddenly made him want to share his power with them, but he realizes he couldn't make that choice yet. He thinks about making the most of his dimensional gate skills and farm gear faster than anyone else. He concludes that he needs to crush opponents through sheer gear power, something facing the mountain thugs made painfully clear. If his in-game plan works out, he'll be at least 3 levels ahead. However, if he gets too far ahead, the nearby monsters will be too strong, making it even harder to party up with the other two. He decides to work non-stop. Finally, he finishes installing the wood stove in his hideout, meaning he can now finally sleep there at night. Dingo seems to be loving it, which is good. He just needs to get everything set up as deliveries come in. Once that is done, the hideout will be basically complete. He decides he might as well pull an all-nighter to finish everything today, as the final shot shows him smiling, ready to work. The news was on, reporting about an asteroid that was seen a while ago. The HSA Space Agency said that the asteroid named Unimbi entered the middle of the solar system, and they are watching it closely. But they also said that Jupiter's gravity split the meteorite into 2, making it hard to know exactly where it will go next. The head of asteroid tracking, Thomas Chandler, announced that Unimbi Alpha and Beta are now 2 separate things flying around. Still, he promised people that there was no way these space rocks would hit Earth, which made the main character watching the news wonder what really happened. He recalled that on D5, Unimbi Beta landed near a Russian ship first, causing a huge tsunami. That tsunami pushed the ship all the way to Ganshinport, and that's when the zombies first showed up in Korea, which finally made sense to him now. Moving to the next piece of news, President Jang Won-taek had not left the presidential residence for a week after the shooting incident in Uido. Opposition leaders released a joint statement agreeing to hold a hearing to demand the truth about what happened. Some people were even talking about rumors related to the Awakened and the disaster, with one person saying, "End times, end times." The character thought that at least all the media attention made it harder for the Awakened people to commit crimes. Then he wondered about the online reaction. Someone online complained that their plan to rob a bank tomorrow was ruined because of some levitating freak show that appeared. People online were confused, wondering if Unimbi or something else was the real problem, and mentioning that even the zombie event was fuzzy in their memory. They noted that the world was truly going crazy since this was even on the news. He saw some sharp comments online, and then noticed something interesting. An old player account named My Dream was suddenly active. This player, My Dream, was famous for always being nice to new players and sometimes playing with them. The main character remembered how My Dream used to share early game tips, but this new message sounded very urgent. My Dream was searching for the 4 veterans who lasted until the very end of the game, saying he built a strong bunker in Buisness, ready for 5 people for over 3 years, so they just needed to show up. He added that if they were worried about posting public messages, he could message them directly as they were still on his friends list. That was the message waiting for them to contact him, and the main character thought about the bunker, but hesitated because he had the gate to deal with. He decided he wouldn't reach out first since his veteran friends hadn't joined yet, but he bookmarked the information just in case. After bookmarking it, he muttered that it was time to finish the second round of work on his hideout. Then, there was a flash of blue light as he interacted with something near his computer. This was episode 13, and the next day started, showing the outside of his hidden base built into a hill. He complained about pulling 2 all-nighters in a row, but seeing how good his base looked outside gave him energy. His little white dog gave a happy bark. However, the main work was starting now, setting up electricity from the solar panels. He knew converting DC power from the panels to AC for his electronics was tricky, and he needed to run multiple lines for compatibility. He carefully connected the wires to the power system installed on the wall. He needed to convert the DC to AC and run many lines for all his electronics to work properly. He nervously plugged his phone into a power strip, hoping it would work right the first time. "It's working," he exclaimed happily as his phone's screen showed it was charging, confirming the power was finally on. Finally feeling satisfied, he felt a dopamine rush for the first time in ages, realizing his survival setup in this new world was truly established. He stretched widely, proud of his work, as the inside of his base looked functional now. He felt great after getting the power running, which made sense because the day before, he had been digging where he found luminous and ignition stones. After digging even deeper, he discovered a mercenary, a mineral harder and sharper than obsidian. He took the shiny green mineral from the safe, thinking it was pretty useless right now, but good to have. He decided he would use it later for LED lights and planned to sort the food in the basement before going to sleep. But then, his dog started barking loudly. He rushed to the door after hearing the barks, realizing that a direwolf, a beast-type monster from the game SL, was outside. He was shocked because he thought such mountain monsters shouldn't be down here, and a flash of realization hit him. Maybe these were the ones that killed his friend's mom. The white dog started growling fiercely, and the main character signaled the little dog to be quiet, whispering to call the aggressive white wolf dingo. He looked around and realized the threat was serious. A whole pack of direwolves, including an orange alpha, surrounded him. He knew it was bad because he honestly couldn't beat them all. He realized that if he tried to get a weapon, he would turn his back and get torn apart by the pack. This left him with only one option, the plan he had made. The plan was to get the alpha to leave, hoping the rest of the pack would follow because wolves are naturally cautious. He knew the alpha usually attacks first, and the rest only jump in when the alpha feels safe, but importantly, wolves hate strong smells. Luckily, he still had the pepper spray he used on some kobolds before. If he sprayed the alpha, the spray still contained the strong scent from the kobold fight. He thought that if he sprayed the leader guy, even if he couldn't kill it, he could drive them away. But he worried that if the alpha decided to charge him right away, he would be done for. He realized if he backed off now, the hideout he worked so hard to build would be destroyed. He took a deep breath and shouted at the alpha direwolf to open the gate, then quickly dodged as the alpha charged. He ducked just as the alpha lunged, and as the orange wolf passed, he aimed the pepper spray. He sprayed the alpha right in the face, causing it to reel back in pain and confusion. The alpha roared in pain, coughing, but the main character was not done yet, as he looked for a way to stop it completely so he could spray it again effectively. He realized he needed a way to stop the alpha momentarily so he could spray it properly, thinking, "Wait, I got it." He wondered if his sudden idea could work, but reassured himself that it had to work, at least in theory. He reasoned that if he ran away now, his newly built hideout would be ruined, so he needed to act. He then yelled out to the alpha direwolf, "Open gate." He dashed forward, swinging a glowing blue attack toward the alpha, shouting, "Let's fight." The attack struck the orange alpha, sending it flying back with a loud impact. The alpha shook off the blow and immediately tried to attack again, leaping towards him. The main character braced himself as the alpha came at him, the momentum of the attack creating a strong impact zone. He met the alpha's charge head-on, narrowly avoiding a bite, as the creature snarled violently. He quickly executed a move, yelling "Open gate," as he kicked the alpha back, hitting it with a strong force. He then commanded "Close gate," and quickly pulled out the yellow pepper spray from his belt. He sprayed the alpha directly, causing it to scream in agony as the burning substance hit its face. The alpha coughed violently, clearly suffering, but the main character knew it wasn't over yet and ran in for another strike with his knife. He tackled the alpha, plunging his knife into its neck area while the other wolves tried to intervene. The alpha staggered from the blow, while the main character pushed back another dark wolf attacking him. With the alpha stunned, the other wolves hesitated, and the main character retreated quickly toward his hidden base entrance. He made it inside and caught his breath, relieved, saying, "Phew, I thought I was gonna die," as the little white dog yelped happily. The main character smiled at the little dog, calling him such a little brat, and gently stroked him. He told the dog, "Just hang in there." As he petted the small wolf, he promised, "I'll get revenge for you." After finishing up the basement stuff, the main character went straight to the hardware store and the pharmacy. He really wanted to set up his defenses before he went to sleep. He thought about how annoying it was that those direwolves attacked right at this time, but he figured he got off easy since they weren't werewolves. Looking back, he realized he got too relaxed, only thinking about the monsters close by. He totally forgot about unexpected surprises. He decided that he needed to do more drone surveys from now on. He also planned to expand his shelter area for more farming and storage space. The plan included adding emote for a second layer of defense and putting in more Bluetooth receivers to make his coverage better. As he was thinking, he saw someone familiar outside. Someone noticed him standing there and called out, asking what he was doing so far out from the shelter. He told them he was just out shopping, and the person asked if he was buying weapons, which he denied. The person seemed confused about why someone would buy weapons at a hardware store. The person explained that one of their gym members was seen looking around the hardware store, trying to buy weapons, and the gym member was trying to talk them out of it. However, the other people didn't believe him. He mentioned that he could have just shown them his early summary report, but they still wouldn't believe in the Iron Death disease. Then he noticed the woman staring at him and wondered why she wasn't saying anything. Suddenly, the woman remembered him and asked if he was the Tdiakbaki shop owner. He confirmed, and she said he looked totally different now, asking if something happened. She apologized for not being polite and introduced herself as Jo Soo-yeon. He replied, saying his name was Kang Se-yeon-ho, and then he realized something important. She was a doctor at Calypso Hospital. When he found out she was a doctor, he quickly told her the basic summary about the SL situation, just like he did for Hyun-jun and Mike Hyun before. Jo Soo-yeon admitted she wasn't feeling good about the situation, saying that if you look at the game's setup from a science angle, there is no way to win. He agreed it was literally just a game, but she pressed him for one last thing. She asked if he was actually awakened, noting that he sounded very certain when he explained things. She said the realization just came to her after listening for a while. He laughed it off, saying, as if, and thought that Mike Hyun was also sharp. He then thanked her, saying she was really helpful and trustworthy. He wondered what was so different about him compared to the other guy. She replied, asking if he was serious, stating that he and the gym owner were just on another level. She finished by suggesting they just stay friends, extending her hand towards him. The next day, he was working on his gear. It was just a blade stuck on a pole, but that was all for his main setup. He told Dingo that today they would get revenge for its mom. He also added that even if revenge wasn't the goal, if anyone found their hideout, they needed to track and kill them fast. He told Dingo, "Today, you're pulling your weight." Dingo responded with a bark, seemingly ready for action. He noted that there were only 4 direwolves, and the alpha wasn't even there, which made things much easier. He told Dingo to just stay away from them, and it would be fine. He explained that a pack of direwolves without an alpha was super easy to fight because they basically lost their brains and had no teamwork. This meant they could take them down one by one. He told Dingo he would handle the last one. After Dingo took out a direwolf, a system message popped up saying it gained 3 points. Then, another message showed that the trait got extra effects because of the level up. It mentioned gate projection, which shows scenery on the other side and allows one-way sound. He was happy because now he could actually see inside his real house through the projection. He also thought that invisibility must work too. He was initially worried that a dungeon door would appear like his old gate, but this new trait fixed all the old problems and upgraded everything. He realized how important leveling up could be. This just gave him more reasons not to miss any more omens from now on. He knew there was still a lot of work to do. For now, he had to bury the dead direwolves first. He stood over one of them, holding his spear, ready to finish the job. He said that from here on out, Dingo should just stab them. Another system notification popped up, took out a direwolf, gained 3 points. More notifications appeared. Another direwolf was taken out for 3 points, and then he leveled up to 5. This made his trait get extra effects. He wondered what these new effects were. The system showed 2 new effects for his trait: dimensional gate invisibility, where the gate is hidden from others, and gate projection, which shows the scenery and allows one-way sound from the other side. He was excited and said, "Added effects to trait." He then tried to open gate. As he activated the gate, he exclaimed, "Awesome." He was amazed that he could now see inside his real house through the glowing portal. He thought that invisibility must work too, and felt it was crazy that he worried a dungeon door would appear like his old gate. This upgrade fixed everything. He realized that if there were even more effects at level 5, there might be even more cool things with future level ups. He felt like he never realized how important leveling up was. This made him determined not to miss any more omens. He knew, of course, there was still tons to do. For now, the main priority was to bury these defeated monsters first. He stood there in his gear, looking out at the forests. 2 days passed after cleaning up the direwolves, and during this time, the main character got a lot of things done. First, in the other world, He checked the ecosystem again using a drone and confirmed there were only normal animals within a 1-kilometer radius. He double-checked and found no monsters around. This was a repeat of the previous day's check, where he confirmed safety after the direwolf incident. The drone survey showed only peaceful animals near the water, confirming the area was clear of monsters for now. He also got information that there was a goblin nest about 3 kilometers away. Because the nest was quite big, he figured there was probably a hobgoblin there too, so it was too dangerous to deal with right now. Once he felt the area was safe enough, it was time to start building, as he prepared to turn his hideout into a real shelter by clearing trees with his dog Dingo ready to help. He cleared the bushes and trees, leaving behind stumps, and then used Dingo's help to level the ground. Next, he made a 30-meter circle area. He set up double-layered barbed wire fencing and planned to add a moat outside this fence. He thought digging the moat 2 meters deep would work well with the wire fencing for better defense. He was keeping an eye on things in the real world through the gate. In the real world, the government announced plans to investigate awakened individuals. Meanwhile, in the real world, he went shopping. He bought building supplies from a faraway store and grabbed an industrial tool set from a big hardware shop. On his way back, he checked out Kim Cheol-jun's hideout. He also rented a motorcycle and a mini excavator to use before the Iron Death disease struck. Thanks to Jodok doing great, he had been injecting a small amount of poison daily to build resistance. Because of this, he now had enough paralysis poison to put on his weapons, but he was very confused by what he saw online. He saw a message saying, "Everyone, please congratulate me. I've recruited Survivor 1, who played for 4,500 hours. Hearing that Survivor 1 joined my dream made him question everything. He thought about the Uito shooting, the government censorship, and the president hiding in their residence. He wondered if all those big events were just a big coincidence, because it didn't make any sense to him. He had originally thought Survivor 1 would be with the president, possibly getting a massive shelter in exchange for information. Partnering with the president, the top authority, seemed the most logical thing. He felt strongly that this news about Survivor 1 joining my dream must be a bluff. His suspicion wasn't just based on knowing about the omens. He thought Survivor 1 was an item collector, and he expected them to ask for a massive shelter in exchange for information. Of all the people to partner with, the president made the most sense, so the current situation felt like a definite bluff. He wondered why the kind my dream would pull a stunt like this. It was confusing, but he knew wasting time wouldn't solve anything. If Survivor 1 really had joined my dream, he would have to change his plan. So, he decided to make a new chat code and VR ID to check things out. He sent a quick message, "Unknown, hi," and asked to meet on a UR chat. He worried if my dream would reply too quickly, and if so, he would just brush it off. He noted that only a few people knew his J-code ID, and my dream replied almost instantly, asking where to go. The reply was super fast, making him wonder if my dream was secretly unemployed. My dream then said, "LL White Room, go," and when asked if the other person needed VR, my dream said no, only desktop. My dream then confirmed, "Good, I'll hop in now," and the hacker decided to check if this was real or fake. He put on his VR headset, and the system showed that player my dream has logged into White Room. My dream greeted the other person, thanking them for the invitation, but mentioned the place wasn't exactly pleasant. My dream pressed, saying he came all the way into VR chat as requested, and the other person was still hiding behind unknown and wearing a goofy mask. The person with the mask apologized, but warned my dream that getting on their bad side wouldn't help him. My dream noticed the voice and attitude, asking if the other person was a veteran player. The masked person gave a vague answer, could be, could not be. So, the person with the mask proposed a test, 3 questions, and if all were correct, he would acknowledge my dream. My dream agreed, saying, "Sure. Bring it on." The first question was about the maximum vertical jump height for a werewolf. My dream immediately answered, 3 meters. The second question was about the owlbear's weakness, which my dream answered quickly as strong light. The third question was about the zombie evolution stages and types. My dream explained that in SL, zombies don't infect but consume nutrients, evolving into ghouls, sometimes after becoming enhanced zombies first. The masked person agreed this was nice and asked the last question, "How many omens are there?" My dream hesitated, knowing the answer was 3, and thought the question was a trick, saying, "Bullshit, no. Would you give that away?" The masked person laughed, admitting my dream was definitely one of the veterans. He then told my dream, if that's proof enough, call Survivor 1. My dream replied that if it was real, he would join up too, but unfortunately, he couldn't summon Survivor 1 right now. The masked person was angry, asking, "What kind of crap is that?" Then, the masked person changed the subject. commenting on the nice weather and feeling like something big was about to happen. The hacker who was watching realized the other guy was stalling with nonsense. He suddenly paused, realizing with shock, wait, and thought, don't tell me this guy has been tracking my IP this whole time? Back in the VR chat, the masked person said, well then, goodbye, and then started to dematerialize with blue digital effects. Meanwhile, at the PC cafe, a woman greeted the hacker entering the main area, saying, welcome. The hacker, still thinking about the online encounter, thought, feels like they're stalling with nonsense. Then he suddenly got scared, realizing, wait, and thought, don't tell me this guy's been tracking my IP this whole time. The man in the suit, who was with the woman, told two men to guard the door. The hacker wondered what this guy was thinking, especially since they were at a PC cafe. The man in the suit, ignoring the suggestion to go to the counter, said firmly, no. The woman looked surprised as the man in the suit continued, saying they were not there to play games but to find someone. The hacker thought that if they knew it was a PC cafe, they should have been staking it out quietly instead of being so obvious. The man in the suit then ordered the two guards, you two guard the door, and the woman looked worried. The hacker thought about how suspicious the group was acting, demanding cooperation. The man in the suit used his power on the woman with glowing purple eyes, making her say, yes, go ahead. The hacker realized this guy had a psychic trait, and the second he got caught, he would become a puppet. He quickly commanded, open gate, and quickly covered his face with his cap while trying to escape. The man in the suit smiled slightly, noticing the movement, and said to his guards, Tesk, only one spot left then. He then greeted the hacker's avatar, saying, nice to meet you, unknown. The man in the suit told the hacker to stop messing around and come out, asking if he was a stealth type awakened. The hacker, now realizing he couldn't hide his type, knew he had dealt with stealth monsters before. He thought that one could splash water to see where the stealth person was hiding, or just catch them somehow. He remembered thinking, phew, good thing I summoned it tight against the wall, realizing he almost got caught. The man in the suit seemed unimpressed, saying, not a stealth type, he's a movement type. Search everywhere, now! He then commanded his group, I'll say it again, this one's big. Capture them alive, and I'll give you all what you want. The hacker thought this was pretty bitter, remembering that my dream used to be a rich gentleman in the game. But seeing my dream now trying to turn people into slaves made him feel differently. He thanked my dream, saying he kept hesitating even though he had made up his mind. He felt that my dream had totally cleared his head. He decided that from now on he would judge things by his own standards and fight fire with no mercy. The hacker, wearing a helmet, now prepared to fight, holding a weapon that glowed with blue energy. He remembered the past confusion, but now felt resolved to fight mercilessly. The man in the suit was seen taking out a radio, and the hacker prepared to fight until the apocalypse arrives. The chapter ended with a counter showing D12, indicating 12 days left until the apocalypse. The man breathing heavily wonders which of the veterans is the unknown one. He keeps thinking about it, focusing on the situation at hand. Even if the veteran's special skill is only about movement, with so much time spent playing, there should be something more to it. Suddenly, a masked figure wearing a helmet appears, saying hi there. The masked man attacks swiftly, injecting the other person with something green. A sharp sting is felt as the poison spreads, and the victim's face shows distress as green fluid leaks from his mouth. The captured man, now poisoned, realizes the attacker is the one called Unknown, expressing surprise. The attacker turns around and asks aggressively, who said you could turn around? The masked man then asks how it feels to be poisoned while pinning the victim down. He warns the man not to say anything more, explaining that since the apocalypse or tutorial hasn't started, the killer system is not active. Because the system isn't active, the attacker points out that killing the man now will result in no penalty. Looking down at the paralyzed man, the attacker confirms that this is the reality of a real veteran who understands things quickly. He searches the defeated man, stating that since the victim is conscious but cannot move, he can interrogate him. The attacker questions why the man betrayed Survivor 1 and targeted good people. He observes that the man now looks more like something to be looted, like a monster rather than a human. The poison man weakly calls the attacker a bastard, but the attacker states that this is the price for trying to trick and enslave him. The masked man then threatens that next time he won't hold back before delivering a final blow. After the confrontation, the chapter title for Chapter 16, A Veteran of the Apocalypse, is shown. Before my dream's goons could arrive, the main character sneaked out of the PC cafe and went home, immediately hopping into the other world. Back in his space, he puts down his gear and decides to check the ID of the person he dealt with first. He looks at the ID, finding out the name is Kwon Kyan Jun, age 38, who is a golf club owner with 3 bunkers and a reputation for having many affairs. A picture shows Kwon Kyan-jun happily surrounded by several women, confirming the detail about his many affairs. The info also mentioned that he apparently gets better traits the more he plays, and he was testing his mind control ability. The main character thinks that is all the useful information, but he wonders if just having more playtime guarantees stronger traits in the actual game, SL. He ponders that if the main goal of SL is survival, then for veteran players, his own trait is practically a cheat code. He decides to keep this idea as probably credible until more veteran traits are seen, believing that as the apocalypse nears, awakening simply amps up a person's physical stats, just like in the game. He notes that his recent training also makes a difference, and then thinks he needs to practice shooting without a loaded magazine next time. Suddenly, he notices many alerts popping up on his screen. He looks at the alerts as he practices shooting targets with his silenced pistol, hitting the bullseye. He comments that his recent training is definitely helping, while also resolving to practice more without a loaded magazine later. As he finishes practicing, glowing notifications fill the air near a blue, glowing rectangular portal. He looks toward the portal, wondering why there are so many alerts. He leans in to see the screen, trying to figure out what the alerts are about. The alerts confirm major events: monsters sighted at Gassen, screams heard, the sky getting dark, lightning striking, and one report mentioning his mom took a photo of a golem with goblins. Realizing the gravity of the situation, he looks up intensely as another message states the second omen has just started. Looking out toward the mountains under a dark sky, he sees the commotion from afar. A car is shown skidding off the road near a mountain area, while the time inside his vehicle reads 22:30. He curses and realizes the location is Gassen, speeding up as he grips the steering wheel. He sees a message saying goblins were sighted at Hwangsan Reservoir, and the last reported location was indeed Hwangsan Reservoir. The car speeds along the dark road towards the location. The car appears to have crashed or gone off-road into the woods, and the main character gets out with his backpack, calling out to his companion, Dingo. Dingo, a small white wolf-like creature, barks, and the character tells him they are on goblin hunting duty now. He recalls that he sped up for 2 reasons. First, because the police would definitely cordon off the area due to the big commotion. Second, since goblins are roaming monsters, they would likely set up a makeshift base under a hobgoblin's command. He asks Dingo if he picked up the goblin scent, and Dingo enthusiastically barks back. Dingo gets focused, sniffing the air intensely. Dingo barks loudly, and the character runs toward the direction indicated. Dingo races ahead through the forest. The main character runs fast, following Dingo's lead. He catches his breath, wondering if there is a better path through the thick woods. Dingo barks again, leading the way. They arrive at a scene where police officers are down, some near goblins, and one exclaims in shock. The character tells someone named Seonho to calm down and checks on an injured police officer who has green poison around his neck. He confirms they are luckily still alive, with no obvious wounds other than being paralyzed by poison. He wonders who took the police officer's gun, or if it was taken immediately after the attack. He assures them they should be fine after resting for 20-30 minutes and then tells himself the next task is to check the goblin corpses. Looking at a dead goblin, he notices bullet holes. This confirms for sure that the police had firearms, which makes him question why the guns were taken in the middle of this mess. He looks concerned, realizing something important. He asks himself if there was a gold goblin in the group, spotting a crowned, monstrous figure in a vision or memory. Seeing the unconscious officers, he decides he cannot let the gold goblin escape and makes up his mind. He uses the cop's phone to call 119 right away, telling the dispatcher he is just borrowing the phone for a second. He texts the location and tells them not to let the goblin body rot, as with monsters going viral on social media, hiding this is no longer possible. He looks at a picture on the phone showing a monster, acknowledging that it is now a real race against time. He tells Dingo he is counting on him as they walk forward together in the sunlight filtering through the trees. A hard impact landed, making a strong sound and causing a red flash of energy. Someone grunted in pain after getting hit, and it seemed like a small goblin was trying to attack the main character in the forest. After taking out a few small enemies, the main character faced 3 more goblins who seemed to be ready for a fight, making his teammate ask if they were doing things right. The teammate worried because he was supposed to be the tank, but he wasn't even awakened yet, but the boss told him not to worry, saying it couldn't be helped. The boss explained that his special ability was telekinesis, but it took a while to cast, as he showed by making rocks float around him. He reassured his teammate, saying he would cover him for sure, and sent the floating rocks forward with energy. The rocks hit the goblins hard, making them cry out in pain. The teammate then asked if the rest of their party members were actually on their way, and the boss confirmed they had reached Gaeson, but it was hard for them to get to their current spot. Hearing this, some nearby people, possibly security or other survivors, started to panic and wondered if they should run away too. The boss told his teammate to see this as an opportunity because these enemies were just like in a game. Pointed out that these goblins didn't have their strong main weapons, like poison darts or spears, which was an advantage for them. The teammate started to protest, but the boss told him not to worry and just keep doing what he was doing while the telekinesis user prepared another attack. The boss explained that if they handled this situation and caught the hobgoblin squad that separated, they would gain a huge advantage, so he told his teammate to focus and stop complaining. The telekinesis user focused intensely, gathering power for another strong push. One goblin was hit hard by a sudden force, making it stagger back while the boss was still on the ground, perhaps recovering from an attack. The teammate checked on the boss, who looked hurt and wondered if even a little goblin figured out a counter to their abilities, leaving him to question what they should do next. The scene showed the main fighter surrounded by several goblins, while below, a loud scream indicated that one of the enemies was in agony. The main fighter defended against the goblins surrounding him, while an unseen force shot an arrow that hit one enemy, making it shriek. More arrows, clearly from an unseen source, struck another goblin, confirming that help had arrived somehow. The fighter looked around, confused by the sudden appearance of the arrows, wondering where they came from, as the remaining goblins were being taken care of. He wondered where those arrows suddenly came from, looking out into the dark forest, as the sounds indicated something was being handled. The chapter title card appeared, marking the end of the immediate action sequence, and the main characters simply reacted with a quiet acknowledgement. The scene shifted to the main character back somewhere safe, sitting down and drinking, reflecting on whether it was pointless to get involved when he had his own problems. He concluded it was not pointless because, thanks to those people, he learned that awakened users couldn't easily get to this specific location. This information meant that he could safely go after a weakened goblin mob, as he saw a blue portal effect. The focus then showed the hobgoblin looking down at a fallen goblin, having witnessed the defeat of its underling. He realized he needed to move fast from now on, as he picked up a drink and then laid out his plan for dealing with the goblin group. The first step of the plan was to draw the aggression, or aggro, from the goblins, showing a team member in tactical gear getting ready. The plan continued. Once the angry goblins chased them all the way to the gate, they needed to hurt them enough to make them scream. This involved using the gate as a wall, and a goblin seemed to be violently struck at the gate while some liquid spilled from a crushed can. The next part of the plan involved pulling out any embedded spearheads to clear any physical proof of what happened. The armored person used the gate as a barrier to fend off an attacking goblin. After dealing with the initial group, the high-insight hobgoblin would see his underlings collapse. The big hobgoblin looked angry after seeing one of his men down, with green liquid dripping from the dead goblin. The hobgoblin then started giving orders to the other 3 remaining goblins. The remaining weakened and anxious goblins were now being ordered to attack the main fighter. The armored fighter, moving in the blue glow of his power, prepared to strike down the approaching goblins, as he mentioned that just like last time, he would slice them down in one go. He launched into action, attacking the charging goblins with his blade. He confirmed that so far, everything was going as planned, and now he needed to deal with what the main monsters would do next. The armored fighter paused, noticing something unexpected, and wondered what was happening. He was surprised to see that even the monsters seemed to be arguing among themselves, even as the fight continued around them. Seeing this chaos, the fighter decided he might as well go all in against the big hobgoblin now. He prepared to strike the massive hobgoblin, thinking that this direct confrontation was insane, but he had no other choice. He swung his weapon with a strong red impact toward the hobgoblin. The armored fighter took a heavy hit from the hobgoblin's attack, recoiling and grimacing in pain. He collapsed against a tree, bleeding a bit, and laughed maniacally, realizing the attack hurt much more than he thought it would. The hobgoblin loomed over him, preparing another heavy blow, and the fighter felt he couldn't stay awake much longer. A massive red blast of energy erupted from the scene of the fight. As the blast faded, a system notification popped up, showing that his health decreased sharply, which triggered his survival craving skill. The fighter's eyes glowed yellow as he powered up, ready to fight the charging hobgoblin. He dodged the hobgoblin's attack and moved quickly through the forest, leaving the monster behind. While some weaker goblins were held back by another figure, the armored fighter aimed something directly at the hobgoblin. Little Goblin King, wearing a crown, was seen recoiling violently from an attack, spewing green liquid. The fighter commanded to open the gate, signifying the end of this phase, and he noted that the first round of looting was done. With a loud shout, he prepared to face the hobgoblin head-on as it charged him. He unleashed a barrage of attacks that struck the large hobgoblin repeatedly, causing it to bleed green liquid. The hobgoblin roared in pain, but the fighter calmly held his weapon steady and declared that it was his turn now, suggesting the hobgoblin only managed to hurt him because he allowed it. The fighter powered up with intense golden energy, ready to finish the fight. The hobgoblin staggered back with a groan as the fighter unleashed a powerful move. The battle ended, and the system announced that the character leveled up to 6, gained 18 points, and unlocked a new skill called Terrain Sense. The fighter stood up, relieved that the fight was over, and noticed the dead hobgoblin. He reviewed his new skill, Terrain Sense, noting it would be very useful, and also saw he received an item upgrade, gloves with +2 dexterity. He was surprised that even the small loot counted as item drops, and then he heard a beeping sound followed by someone calling out, making him wonder if the search party had already arrived. He looked toward the direction the sound came from, ready to act quickly. He commanded the gate to open and stepped towards it, planning to get everything and hide. The armored fighter entered the gate, deciding to lay low in the hideout until the immediate danger passed, and the scene shifted to the next day. The main character woke up, heavily bandaged, groaning in discomfort with his little white pet creature fussing over him. He checked his watch and realized he had slept for a whole day, deciding that from now on, he needed to avoid triggering his survival craving skill unless it was a real emergency. He gently nudged the little creature away while thinking about not activating the dangerous survival skill. Before heading out, he decided it was time to check the loot from the previous day's fight, looking happy with his pet nearby. The main character looks at his pet sleeping nearby while checking the loot on the table. He notes that the golden goblin dropped something good. The revolver is nice, but the knife is special. He admires the mithril knife, which is indestructible and will not be affected by the metal death plague. He wonders how a simple goblin could possess an item that costs 100 points in the shop. Looking closer at the knife, he notices it is bumpy and suddenly has a realization. He questions if the goblins in that other world were using metal weapons, which seems unlikely given their level of civilization. The character thinks about the possibility of a mutation occurring, considering the goblins seem to have blacksmithing skills. He shrugs off the mutation idea as too much of a stretch and decides to check the other items first. He starts going through the gathered bags of loot, ready to see what else he got. He finds shadow grapes, which is a jackpot because they increase night vision, explaining why the day-active goblins could move at night. With the items checked, he moves to review his status window, eager to see his growth. His status shows level 6, 77 points, and decent stats, which is growing much faster than in the game. Having confirmed everything from the other world, he decides it is time to return and opens a portal. As the portal opens with a bright blue light, he reacts with surprise to something happening back in his world. He runs through the portal while checking his phone, finding that texts have flooded in as soon as he got a signal. Seeing all the messages, he wonders if he has ever been this popular and decides to head to the fitness center first. He stands in a wooded area, having just returned from his otherworldly activities before the scene transitions to a building. The camera shows the exterior of a building under the bright sun, which is the fitness center. Upon entering, he is immediately greeted by Lee Kai-hoon and others who were very worried about him. He apologizes for making them worry, and then asks for introductions to the other two people present. Kai-hoon introduces the group as his party members, mentioning that they already know Seon-ho, the snack bar owner. Kim Bo-ra then introduces herself. Seon-ho confirms his identity and asks Kai-hoon about the fourth person who is supposed to be with them. Kai-hoon explains that the last person went to a large camping gear discount store. Seon-ho is surprised a place like that exists nearby, and Kim Bo-ra enthusiastically confirms it is new and state-of-the-art. Bo-ra then asks if Seon-ho saw the news about yesterday's incident. Kai-hoon confirms he checked everything on Metube, mentioning the doctor who dissected the goblin warned everyone to prepare for the end. He adds that the president held a National Security Council meeting. The meeting announced they would verify the creator of survival life and listen to the opinions of the awakened. Kai-hoon then asks Seon-ho what he plans to do next, seeking advice since he knows a lot of information. Seon-ho immediately rejects the idea of giving advice, saying he already told Kai-hoon to focus on stocking up supplies. He argues that goblins only give points and killing one only gives a level or two. Kai-hoon dismisses this as nonsense, but Seon-ho interrupts him, asking if Kai-hoon has played survival life. Kai-hoon hesitantly says he hasn't, but searched the community a bit. Xian Ho tells him that over-relying on communities is bad and asks if he understands. He then addresses Kyan-hoon directly with a question about zombie spores. Xian Ho asks Kyan-hoon under what conditions people infected with zombie spores turn into zombies and who survives. Kyan-hoon stumbles on the answer, saying at least those who contacted and awaken will be safe. The others are confused by this statement, asking what he means. Xian Ho then challenges them, asking why they think he is awakened. He explains that it is because he played survival life, meaning he made contact with the system. Therefore, the non-awakened people who made contact with him are safe from turning into zombies. The others react positively to this explanation, saying it makes sense and they should stick with Mr. Kyan-hoon now. Mai Kyung then asks a question about the very hard tutorial, wondering if he cleared it. Before he can fully answer, Mai Kyung interrupts, proclaiming she will protect them all. Xian Ho internally wonders about that guy's behavior. He acknowledges Kyan-hoon's hypothesis is somewhat credible but notes there is no proof that awakened are immune to spores. Xian Ho thinks Kyan-hoon likely called him because he didn't trust that troll either, suggesting they should get up and leave now. Kyan-hoon's group asks them to stay longer. Xian Ho refuses to stay longer because he hates giving information directly to that guy and says he has a schedule. He promises to contact them again later when he is done. After leaving the fitness club, Xian Ho walks around, thinking about changing his supply farming route before the metal death plague arrives. He considers adding the camping store and removing the convenience store. When he reaches his house, he finds Cho Soo-yeon waiting for him, saying she has something to give him and asking if he has a moment. Soo-yeon gives him a pack of prescription-only painkillers and antibiotics. Xian Ho is surprised and asks if it is okay for her to give him these items. Soo-yeon assures him there is no problem since they can forge more if they run out, and she tells him her address in Eden Villa, Unit 302. She mentions the detailed address is on a note in the pouch, and when Xian Ho asks why she is giving him something, she says it's about give and take, reminding him not to forget their locations. Xian Ho agrees that it is good for them to know each other's locations. He notes that after the intense meeting with Soo-yeon, time flew by quickly again. During this time, he visited many places, bought various goods and equipment, and even built a sandwich banal warehouse in the otherworld, stocking it up. After receiving the mini excavator he ordered, he used his spare time to construct a moat. Meanwhile, the world outside was getting more chaotic. On TV, fatalists and skeptics were arguing, and an emergency meeting was called at the UN. News spread that the US president was urgently visiting Korea, and the HSA sensed something suspicious, realizing their earlier predictions were wrong, starting with the Nzambi beta sighting. Just like that, 4 days passed, and now he is at Ganshinport for the final omen, the Russian ship event. The camera focuses on the character standing on a balcony overlooking a brightly lit city view as the day ends. After making sure the port was empty, the main character entered an abandoned building to get ready for his next move. He opened a portal because his main reason for coming here, even with the risk of turning into a zombie, was to get more guns from the Russian ship. The zombie spore is described as a pathogen that comes in the form of a particle beam that easily passes through things, which is hard to avoid. Seeing the spore affect others made him think that whether he turned into a zombie now or later, it didn't matter much since he was alone without a family. He also thought about the option of living alone in the other world, but questioned what meaning that life would have for a human being. With the preparations done, he was ready, but he made it clear he had no intention of dying. He just chose a path of high risk for a high reward. Looking at the patch notes, he wondered about the 10-point weapon possibly being an ebony club and how weak the zombies had become with new point acquisition methods. He felt he would rather deal with zombies or any other monster than natural disasters, which made him feel helpless just by looking at them. He decided he needed to move quickly before the government agents showed up, needing to finish everything as per his plan. Just as Lee Kyo-hoon predicted, it seemed awakened ones do not turn into zombies, and he didn't even feel anything bad from the spore. He thought it was good, and it was time to go meet the zombies, greeting them as if they were old friends. The zombies in this survival life were special. Instead of infecting with a virus like in the game, they treat everything as prey and get stronger by absorbing nutrients. The zombies rushed him, but he easily countered their attack, hitting one so hard he wondered if they had made the zombies too weak. He got 4 points for the kill, noting that with a regular steel weapon, it used to take a couple more hits to finish them off. Even so, he reminded himself not to let his guard down like he did with the orcs, because as a veteran player, one mistake was enough. He planned to clear out the hallway zombies so he could get to where the pistol was likely kept. Suddenly, he heard what sounded like a gunshot, making him realize someone else was still alive. He suggested an unawakened person might survive even when exposed to zombie spores if they haven't met an awakened person, something he wanted to confirm. But then he saw the grim reality. It seemed he was too late to help them. He thought that these kinds of sad things would happen often after the apocalypse, and that sometimes he would even have to kill people to survive. He also saw another person who seemed crazy about farming, telling them to just consider it travel practice because he found half-hearted hypocrisy nauseating. The next day at dawn, he was thinking it was better to contact the countermeasures headquarters. Seeing the decisive actions of the president after getting proof of zombies, with breaking news about summoning faculty, commanders, and executives, he was sure the president's thinking matched his own. He decided to fulfill the final justification, and since he was calling anyway, he might as well share all the information he had. He made the call, introducing himself as Li Wu Bam, an administrator at the countermeasures headquarters, and told them he knew the exact time of 0 day. The person on the other end, sounding surprised, asked if he could consent to unblocking the caller ID. The caller mentioned a hobgoblin having a gunshot wound on its shoulder, suggesting he knew things he shouldn't. The caller warned the other person not to talk for long, before stating the exact 0 day was July 20th at 13:00, and a package would arrive that afternoon. He ended the call by wishing the person the best of luck. The scene then shifts to the port area, where emergency disaster alerts are sounding, and the main character watches the chaos unfold near the water. Loud alarms blared across the area as birds scattered from the lighthouse and surrounding structures near the water. The water churned violently, showing a massive ship being tossed around amidst the rising tide and the distant city buildings looking threatened. The sea was rough, with big waves hitting the shore and a large vessel struggling in the water. As the main character watched the giant ship move with the waves, he seemed to express frustration, feeling like he'd rather fight zombies and deal with this massive natural disaster. He focused his binoculars on the Russian vessel, feeling helpless against the force of the tsunami-like situation. Realizing he had to move, he quickly got back to his inflatable boat setup. He grabbed a part of his gear and rushed out, determined to finish his task before the government agents arrived. He launched himself and his gear off the platform with speed, aiming toward the large ship. He successfully reached the massive ship, shouting in frustration as he grabbed a rope to secure himself against the rocking water. He confirmed that so far everything was going according to plan, even as he secured himself to the side of the enormous vessel. He then thought about the fact that awakened ones don't turn into zombies, as predicted by Lee Kyo-hoon, and he felt no ill effects himself. Happy that he was fine, he decided to move on and greet the zombies inside. He encountered 2 zombies who looked furious, but he was prepared with his gear, ready to fight. He remembered that the zombies in this game were special, consuming nutrients to get stronger instead of just spreading a virus. The zombies lunged at him, but he struck them down with his weapon, swiftly ending the fight. He quickly acquired 4 points from the first one, noting that these zombies were much easier to kill than before, even with his current weapon. Despite the ease, he knew he couldn't get complacent, remembering his past mistake with the orcs and that for a veteran player, one mistake is enough. He looked around and saw more zombies approaching down the hallway. He decided to clear out the rest in the hallway so he could head to the wheelhouse where the pistol was supposed to be. As he moved, he heard a loud bang, a gunshot sound, which made him pause. He wondered who else could be alive, realizing that this meant an unawakened person. Someone without contact with an awakened might have survived the zombie spores. This gave him a chance to confirm his theory, and with urgency, he rushed toward the sound. He found the scene grim, realizing he was too late to save some people, as one lay dead and another held a photo of a dead woman. He offered his small comfort to the surviving young man, saying it probably wouldn't help much, but thanked him for his help. He then took the weapon case and the pistol he came for, knowing that harsh realities like this would become normal after the apocalypse. He also acknowledged that there would be times when he would have to kill other people just to survive. He then left the room, stepping over a defeated zombie, and headed back out. He noticed another person in the water on a small inflatable boat, seeming to be as aggressively farming as he was. He was surprised to see someone else acting so recklessly, thinking they must be as crazy as him. He decided to treat this encounter as practice because he found half-hearted hypocrisy very annoying. The next day at dawn, he was on the phone, mentioning that he thought it was better to contact the countermeasures headquarters. He saw a news report about the appearance of zombies and the public opinion forming to secure the survival life developer. He confirmed that the president's decisive actions after getting proof of zombies showed that his thinking was similar to his own. He decided to make the call to deliver the final justification, and since he was calling, he would include all the necessary information. On the phone, he identified himself as Lee Woo-bam, an administrator, and stated he knew the exact time of 0 day. The person on the other end nervously asked him to unblock his caller ID first. That person also questioned how he knew details like a hobgoblin having a gunshot wound, realizing this caller knew too much. The caller then told him he didn't intend to speak for long. He then dropped the critical information. The exact 0 day is July 20th at 13:00, and a package would arrive that afternoon. He finished by saying he hoped the recipient would use it well. The man on the receiving end was left shocked and speechless as the call ended. The main character, holding the phone, looked determined as he ended the call, wishing the recipient good luck.